and get to and stay undetectable can no longer transmit HIV through sex.
Serious side effects can occur, including kidney problems and kidney failure. Rare, life-threatening side effects include a buildup of lactic acid and liver problems. Do not take Biktarvy if you take dofetilide or rifampin. Tell your doctor about all the medicines and supplements you take if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, or if you have kidney or liver problems, including hepatitis. If you have hepatitis B, do not stop taking Biktarvy without talking to your doctor. Common side effects were diarrhea, nausea, and headache.
If you're living with HIV, keep loving who you are and ask your doctor if Biktarvy is right for you.
Iowa leads it 3-0. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
Making a move from the outhouse to the penthouse? Do you have property your brothers need help with transferring ownership? Do you love everything Hawkeye from Kinnick to Carver? Then you'll want to talk with us. Hi, this is Steve Anderson with Hawkeye Title and Settlement, ready to serve you high-quality real estate title and closing services. Oh, and we also love our Iowa basketball, but we're also happy to assist Cyclone fans too. Hawkeye Title and Settlement of Iowa City and HawkeyeTitle.com. The team you love, the people you trust.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
We head to the bottom of the fifth inning in the first game of our Tuesday afternoon doubleheader between Iowa and Nebraska. Iowa leads it 3-0. Nebraska was able to load the bases in the top half of the fifth, load the bases with nobody out. But a fielder's choice, an infield pop-up, and a swinging strikeout from Vasquez gets the Hawkeyes out of the jam. And they hold on to their 3-0 lead as we head to the home half of the fifth inning. It'll be 9-1-2 in the Hawkeye order with Streff, Carter, and Roman. Streff, who's 0 for 1 today. She had a RBI ground out in her only plate appearance thus far. She had a ground ball to third base, but it served as an RBI and scored Klosterman, who was the runner on third. She takes first pitch inside, ball one. Streff is a player who, since about mid-February, has become the Hawkeyes' everyday second baseman. It's a hard ground ball over to first base with Felder, who lets it eat her up. She nearly kicks it over against the wall. And Streff reaches first base safely off the hard ground ball over to the Nebraska first baseman. I think Felder kind of just skipped a step and went from getting the ball and just trying to step on first immediately, but it ate her up and kicked it towards the wall. So that one will go down as an error. And it turns the lineup over with Nia Carter, who loves swinging first pitch. Lays off one here, though. Counts 1-0. Carter is 0 for 2 today, a very rare 0 for 2 for the Iowa right fielder. She struck out looking in her first at-bat and lined out to short in her second. She lays down a bunt here right in front of Wallace on the mound, who comes off hard, and Carter beats it out for the infield single. We know how fast Carter is, especially out of the box, and Wallace, who popped off the mound, or out of the circle that is, just wasn't quick enough to take Carter. So the Hawkeyes have runners on first and second with nobody out. That's going to go down as a single, and Wallace, who is a Gold Glover, a former Gold Glover in the circle for Nebraska, who she caught off the mound well. She just couldn't get there in time to get the speedy Carter. So Tatiana Roman is up, and she shows bunt as well, but she fouls this one off, 0-1. Roman is 0 for 2 with a ground out and a backwards K. So the Hawkeyes have runners on first and second with nobody out. And Roman at the plate. She shows bunt again, pulls back for ball one. The bunt coverage that Nebraska is electing to go with right now, with runners on the first two bags and no out, is Gray, is the third baseman, is charging in hard. Andrews is going over from short to cover third as Roman pulls back again. Counts 2-1. Everyone has different names for the bunt coverage, but it's the classic counterclockwise motion. If you're looking from the sky down on the field, counterclockwise, where second goes to cover second, short to third, and third comes in. Roman shows bunt and pulls back for ball 3 outside. So the count is 3-1. Have to imagine if Roman squaring around is throwing off Wallace and her timing just a little bit. So the count is 3-1. Runners on first and second and nobody out. Wallace's pitch. Shows bunt. Gets it down. Gray comes in. Throws over to first for the out. But both Hawkeyes will advance. So there's runners on second and third with 1 out, and the Hawkeye 3-hole hitter is coming to the plate. Tori Bennett, the freshman shortstop, is the one digging in 0-for-2 with the backwards K and a hard ground ball to Andrews at shortstop. And her 2 at-bats. So runners on second and third with 1 out. Hawks lead is 3-0. Bennett swings through the first pitch. 0-1. It's an off speed, and it looked like Bennett just pulled her head a little bit early. She knows that anything in the outfield should score a run, especially with how aggressive the Hawkeyes have been on the bases thus far. Bennett hits a ground ball up the middle, and it's gloved down by Wallace, who looks Streff back to third and throws over to first in time for out number 2, and that's a really good play from the Nebraska pitcher. It was a really nice piece from Bennett, who hit the ball back to Wallace on the mound, stuck her glove out, and Streff was halfway home off a contact, but Wallace is able to look her back to third and throw over to first. So the Hawkeyes still have runners on second and third, but 2 outs as Lecker takes ball 1 in the dirt. So an inning after Nebraska loads the bases with nobody out and fails to score, looking to do something similar to the Hawkeyes, who have runners on second and third with 1 out and trying to escape the jam. Lecker hits a high fly ball into right field. Neal goes over, camps under, and will make the catch for the final out. So Iowa's able to threaten in the bottom of the 5th inning with runners on second and third with 1 out. But some good Nebraska pitching gets him out of the jam, utilizing a 1-3 put out and a fly ball into right field. So after 5 complete, the Hawkeyes lead Nebraska 3-0. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
Don't miss the factory-authorized clearance at RV1 Superstores. All 2022 RVs must go. Look for the blue tags with clearance pricing up to 40% off on America's favorite brands. Hurry, when the tags are gone, so are the savings. Get 40% off at the factory-authorized clearance at RV1 Superstores, a Blue Compass RV company. Visit RV1.com. Example 22 Braxton Creek Free Solo, number SI 1026, MSRP 22,222. See dealer for details.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
You are listening live to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network. I am Lucas Strain, and you're listening to the Iowa Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers in the first game of our doubleheader. And what is the Hawkeyes' home opener of the 2023 campaign? Iowa leads Nebraska 3-0 as we head to the top of the 6th inning. Iowa was able to get out of a jam just an inning ago as Nebraska loaded the bases with nobody out. But the Hawkeyes were able to pitch around it. Iowa City Tire and Service is a proud supporter of Hawkeye Softball. Find them at 410 Kirkwood Avenue or online at ictire.com. Iowa City Tire, where service actually comes first. So leading off for Nebraska will be Maya Felder, who takes ball 1 up and out. Felder is 1 for 2 today. She's had an infield single in the first inning to Streff at second base, and she popped up to Streff in her second at-bat, and she fouls one off And the count goes 1-1. Vasquez still in the circle for the Hawkeyes. She's gone 5+ innings. Coming off of what was a rough outing against Penn State, has really turned it around thus far. Screwball is low and inside. 2 balls and 1 strike. Talked about how Vasquez got roughed up a little bit in her last outing against Penn State, where she went 4 innings and allowed 4 runs on 5 hits. Much better thus far. And here's a pitch inside on the hands, but Felder swings at it anyway and pulls it way foul. Count is 2-2.
But in 2002, Nebraska came out here to Iowa City. They shut out Illinois, Chicago, shut out Iowa, shut out Oregon State.
So 2 balls and 2 strikes to the first batter of the 6th inning for Nebraska, and Maya Felder. Bunch of zeros on the board thus far for Nebraska, as the pitch is fouled off again, pulled in a very similar spot from the Nebraska first baseman. And the count is still 2-2.
So the Huskers had history here in Iowa City even before.
Felder had a home run in her last game, the only hit she had in what was their 3rd game of a 3-3 series with Purdue.
Near the Husker dugout, having a quick word, and now she jogs back toward third. 2-2.
So Felder will dig back in as Vasquez looks towards the dugout for the sign. Takes it into the motion, and the pitch is pulled foul again. This one a little bit deeper than the other ones. But she's just a little bit out in front, and we've seen how Vasquez is mixing up her pitches right now. She's throwing the soft stuff inside and loves throwing the hard stuff either upstairs or just putting it on the outside black. The 2-2 to Felder is a fly ball into left field. Klosterman's going back to her right. This one's going to drop and roll to the wall. Felder rounds first and heads towards second, slides in safely. So Nebraska has a leadoff double. And it's back-to-back innings where the Nebraska leadoff batter has led things off with a sliding-in double. Last inning, Nebraska failed to do anything with it. Let's see if they do here. It looks like Felder will be ran for. Alina Felix, the freshman from Tucson, Arizona, will be the one running. Felix does not have a stolen base attempt thus far. No, she has not played, in fact, in a game since March 5th. So her first action in almost a little over 3 weeks. So the score is still 3-0 as Sydney Gray, the third baseman, steps in. She takes strike 1 on the inside corner, 0-1. Gray's 1 for 2 today. She singled on a rocket to center field. And what is her only hit of the day? She hits another line drive to Klosterman in left field. Klosterman ranges over, makes the stumbling catch for the first out. And Felix is forced to remain at second base. So Klosterman makes the kind of falling down. It wasn't a dive, wasn't a over excessive dive. It was just kind of a catch, and I'm just going to go to the ground now type of play. So the Hawkeyes get the much-needed first out of the inning and hold Felix to second base as we're going to have another meeting on the mound with Coach Gardner. So now batting for Nebraska will be Caitlin Caneda, and as they take this meeting on the mound, we'll take a break. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
We're all looking for ways to fight inflation. Choosing Monica's can help. Their portions are big, so you can share your meal with someone in your group and still get plenty. Or just take your leftovers home for a free meal tomorrow. Also, you can always order off the specials menu. Every day there are 2 items on special. And always take advantage of free bread and soft drink refills and happy hour on weekdays. Monica's, a great way to fight inflation.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye softball on 800 KXIC.
So the meeting is over as Canada steps back into the box. Vasquez's first pitch is a screwball taken outside 1-0. As a reminder, Nebraska has a runner on second after the leadoff double. There's a runner on second with one out as Iowa leads it 3-0 in the top of the sixth inning. Vasquez into the motion and the delivery. There's an off speed that catches the upper outside corner, strike one. So 1 ball and 1 strike. Iowa looking for their third straight victory. They lost on Friday in their first game against Penn State this weekend. Here's a ground ball to Streff at second, who fields it and throws over to first for out number 2. Felix does advance over to third on the play. So Nebraska has a runner on third with 2 outs, and Brooke Andrews stepping up now. Andrews 1 for 2, and she had a double in her last plate appearance, a double down the left field line, but she did not eventually come around to score. She was thrown out at home on a ground ball and force out. She takes strike one. Count is 0-1. Andrews, the junior shortstop, takes one off the fist and fouls it into the stands. And the count moves to no balls and 2 strikes. We'll see if Vasquez even puts anything even close to the zone here. We know that when she gets a 2 strikes, she either wants to throw something hard upstairs or she loves going inside, especially today. Here's a pitch that is upstairs, and this one is hammered, sent deep into left field, and this one goes over the wall. So that's going to be a 2-run home run for Brooke Andrews, and she cuts the Iowa lead to 3-2. That ball was absolutely hammered from the junior center fielder, and Nebraska cuts the Iowa lead to 1. That is the 3rd home run that Vasquez has given up in her last 2 appearances, and she does not appear to be happy with herself. So the Hawkeyes still hold the 1-run lead, but Nebraska has shown life in the last couple of innings when they're at the plate, and finally they're able to break through. So 2 away to Bradwell, who sends a fly ball down the right field line. Carter goes over and makes the catch just in fair territory. So that's the 3rd and final out, but Nebraska is able to get 2 more runs across the board and cut the Iowa lead to 3-2. They got the 2 runs on 2 hits, no errors, and left nobody on. So as we head to the bottom of the 6th inning, the Hawkeyes lead 3-2. Due up Doster, Baines, and Klosterman. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
This is Coralville City Administrator Kelly Hayworth reminding you to shop and eat locally. Now, your favorite Coralville businesses offer more options for finding what you want for your home and family. Local restaurants, bakeries, and breweries have perfected carryout and delivery. Coralville shops continue excelling in personalized service. They take pride in helping you find the perfect item or gift for any occasion. Thank you for infusing Coralville with your shopping and dining dollars.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye softball on 800 KXIC.
To the bottom of the 6th we go as the Nebraska Cornhuskers score 2 on the 2-run home run from Andrews, as the Hawkeye lead is now cut down to 3-2. Brooke Andrews, the junior center fielder who hit the home run for Nebraska, her sister Billy is the starting shortstop, but this Hawkeye lead, what was 3-0 at one point, has now been cut down to just the 1 run. Looking to add a little bit of insurance before we head to the 7th. So leading things off will be Tristan Doster, the Iowa catcher, and she's someone we know does have home run capability. hit a home run in her last game, a big 3-run shot that gave Iowa a 3-1 lead in the top of the second against Penn State. Doster is 1 for 2 today with a pair of ground balls along the left side. One of them was ruled a base hit, the other was a fielder's choice. And the first pitch is a strike, and the count goes 0-1. Wallace is still in the circle for Nebraska. And here's another ground ball along the left side, fielded by Gray. Throw over is strong and complete to Felder. So that's out number 1 here in the bottom of the 6th inning, as Grace Baines will dig in now, who's 1 for 2 today. She singled to right field in her first plate appearance and later came around and scored and grounded into a fielder's choice in her second one. She takes an off speed that's in the zone, strike 1 from Wallace. Nebraska infield playing her to pull just a little bit as they take the sign into the motion and the pitch. So the count is 1-1 with 1 out in the bottom of the 6th inning. And here's a ground ball back up the middle off the glove of Wallace. Kaneda will try and recover. She does and makes the play in time for out number 2. That was a hard ground ball back up the middle, and Wallace got her glove on it, and it ricocheted off of it and went to the left of Kaneda, the second baseman, who was able to sprint over and recover and make the throw over to Felder in time for the second out. So it's quickly 2 up, 2 down for the Hawkeyes as Briley Klosterman steps up now. She's 0 for 1 with a walk. Takes the first pitch low and outside, ball 1. The count's in the home half of the 6th inning for Iowa. The 1-0 is low and outside again, so the count is 2 balls and no strikes to the Iowa left fielder. Klosterman's been pretty busy out there in left field so far today. Has had to field a pair of doubles off the Nebraska bats and has an error defensively as well. She swings and misses for strike 1 here. So 2 balls and 1 strike. Iowa clinging on to that 3-2 lead. Held a 3-0 lead after the second inning. They were able to plate all 3 in that second frame as the 2-1 is taken a little outside. 3-1. So a 3-1 count now to Klosterman. Into the motion, and the pitch is a fly ball into deep right field. Back at the wall, and it is gone! Let's see you later. Briley Klosterman goes yard, and the Hawkeyes now have a 4-2 lead. That was a shot into deep right field from Klosterman. Klosterman, her second home run of the season, and it was a much-needed insurance and kind of a mojo run for the Hawkeyes. A pitch that just caught way too much of the plate from Wallace, and Klosterman was able to get her barrel on it, keep the hands inside, and just sent it deep over the right field wall. So after Nebraska plates 2 to pull within 1, Iowa gets one of them back in the home half of the first inning off of the solo shot from Briley Klosterman. Nebraska takes a meeting on the mound, try and figure things out. We bring Sammy Diaz into the plate now to try and try and back up that home run from Klosterman. It was a no-doubter off of the bat. Neal, the right fielder, went back just a couple of steps before eventually just turning and watching it fly. So Diaz steps in, takes first pitch, strike on the upper outside corner, 0-1. Wallace over 100 pitches now on the day, and I have to imagine that we will likely not see her in Game 2, even though Nebraska only utilizes essentially two pitchers all year. Strike 2 is pumped in, 0-2. Only 4 pitchers have gone into the circle all season for the Cornhuskers, and one of them hasn't even gotten to 10 innings on the year. So the 0-2 is off speed, low and in the dirt to Diaz, who takes ball 1. This is a Hawkeye team that does very, very well when they're leading late in games. As the count's 1-2 and is tailed a little bit outside, count evens at 2 apiece. It's an Iowa team that has been leading since the second inning, and when they're leading after 6, they are a perfect 12-0 on the season. So the count is 2-2. And the pitch is off the hands and pulled foul from Diaz, and we'll do it again. And deuces are still wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Nobody on here in the home half of the 6th inning as the Hawkeyes got the 1 insurance run. Take a 4-2 lead. The pitch is outside to make the count full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to the Hawkeye first baseman. Wallace takes the sign into the motion and the pitch. There's a line drive over to Felder at first, who makes the catch easily for the 3rd and final out, but the damage was done for the Hawkeyes. They get a 1-run insurance run off of the solo shot, a no-doubter from Briley Klosterman. So as we head to the top half of the 7th inning, the Iowa Hawkeyes lead it 4-2. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
Don't miss the factory authorized clearance at RV1 Superstores. All 2022 RVs must go. Look for the blue tags with clearance pricing up to 40% off on America's favorite brands. Hurry, when the tags are gone, so are the savings. Get 40% off at the factory authorized clearance at RV1 Superstores, a Blue Compass RV company. Visit RV1.com. Example 22 Braxton Creek Free Solo, number SI 1026, MSRP 22222. See dealer for details.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year, which means... Wait, hold up. Question for the audio engineer.
Go ahead.
Did I read that right? Discover automatically doubles all your cash back?
Yeah, that's what the script says.
So if I get a Discover card right now, I can earn twice the cash back.
Apparently. Wait! Unlimited first-year cash back match, only from Discover. See terms and learn more at discover.com/match.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
We head to the top half of the 7th inning as the Iowa Hawkeyes lead the Nebraska Cornhuskers 4-2. I am Lucas Strain, and you're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network, and we're going to have a pitching change for the Hawkeyes as Denali Lecker will enter the game for Brianna Vasquez. Vasquez's day is done for now, that is. She finishes going 6 innings, allowing 2 runs on 5 hits, striking out 2 with 1 walk, and both of those runs came off of the 2-run shot just a half inning ago. Lecker is now in the game to pitch for the Hawkeyes. Her first pitch is an off-speed that catches the outer half, 0-1. Lecker, her 12th appearance of the season, a 2-0 record with a 1.63 ERA to lead the team. Her 0-1 pitch is swung on and missed. 0-2 from Squire. Lecker's 1.63 ERA leads the team. That ERA has helped a lot from her performance this past weekend, where she went 9 2/3 innings, allowing 2 runs as ball 1 is thrown in the dirt. Those 9 2/3 innings were over a span of over both of the games on the Sunday doubleheader. So Lecker, who is almost exclusively used as a relief pitcher, is looking for her 4th save of the season. And there's strike. Curveball caught the outer half from Lecker. She gets her first strikeout of the day, and Hawkeyes are 2 outs away from winning this one. So we're going to have a batter now, and Courtney Wallace is going to enter the game in her spot. It's supposed to be Dakota Carter, who is the DP, and Courtney Wallace, who has been our starting pitcher, is going to be the one batting now. So Wallace steps in. She's a rare one who doesn't wear a face mask. She hits a weak ground ball to Baines over at third, who cleans it fieldly. The throw over to Diaz is in time for out number 2. So Nebraska's down to their last chance, and it's back to the top of the order with Billy Andrews, who is 0 for 3 today with a pair of pop flies and a ground out. As Doster is going to go out and talk to Lecker in the circle, have a quick little meeting as we get to who is really the best batter on this Nebraska squad. Andrews is 5th in the Big Ten in slugging percentage with over 700. 6th most runs scored, 3rd most hits, and is tied for the 3rd most home runs in Big Ten play. As now Mandy Gardner is going to make the slow walk out to the mound as well to double up the meetings. Hawkeyes lead it 4-2 and are just needing one more out to get back into the win column. It would be their 3rd win in a row for the Hawkeyes. They took 2 of 3 against Penn State and are very close to taking game 1 of our doubleheader against the Nebraska Cornhuskers in what is Iowa's home opener on the season. Game started at 2 o'clock. We're approaching the 1 hour and 50-minute mark, so it's been a very quick game as the meeting is over and Lecker is back into the circle. Her motion, it's an off-speed that's taken outside, 1-0 by Andrews. So Andrews digs back in. Lecker into the motion and her pitch, and she spikes one in the dirt. Landed about a foot shy of the plate. As I said, Lecker had through in both games in their Sunday doubleheader against Penn State, and in Game 2, she pitched 6 2/3 innings in relief from Jalen Adams, who we have to imagine gets the ball for Game 2 today. There's a foul ball into the netting. So the count goes 2 balls and 1 strike to the Nebraska shortstop. Andrews, as I said, is 0 for 3. She's ahead 2-1 now. Lecker's pitch is taken outside. Ball 3, 3-1. Lecker does allow people to reach base against her in those 9 innings. She averaged giving up a hit per inning, but she just kept people from coming across. And there's a line drive into left center field. This one's going back off the wall, and it bounces off the wall. Andrews rounds first, slides in safely at second base, and she's got a 2-out double off the wall. That thing was about, I'd say, 2 feet shy of the top of the wall out in left center field. So the tying run comes to the plate now for Nebraska and Caitlin Neal. Neal is 0 for 3 today. She grounded out in her first one, flew out to deep left field in the second time up, and struck out swinging. And here's a swing and a miss. Nope, we got a foul ball. Got away from Doster behind the plate, but it was ruled that it was a foul ball off the bat of Neal. So Andrews retreats back towards second base. Hawkeyes lead is 4-2 with 2 outs in the top of the 7th inning. Lecker spins the ball, takes the sign, and the pitch is a line drive along the first baseline. It just past the diving glove of Diaz. So the count is quickly 0-2 to the Nebraska 2-hole. No balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs here in the top half of the 7th inning. Hawkeyes lead is 4-2. Nebraska's got a runner on second. Tying run is at the plate. Lecker's pitch, a weak ground ball to Baines at third base, who charges, makes the sidearm throw to first in time for the third and final out, and that is going to be the ball game. Nebraska gets the 2-out double off the wall, but strands are there as Iowa wins by a final score of 4-2. And they take game 1 of our Tuesday afternoon doubleheader. We'll be right back with a little bit of post-game coverage. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
At QC Kinetics, we have story after story of patients freed from agonizing pain through amazing regenerative treatments. But this one, well, it's special.
My father, who is 70 years old, had both of his knees worn out. He went to an orthopedic surgeon who said, you need both of your knees operated on. We can book you for next week.
That's Dr. Daniel Zuckerman, medical director for QC Kinetics.
Had him come to QC Kinetics. We treated both of his knees using our protocols with regenerative medicine. Within a few months, he was back to walking. A few months later, he was at the gym exercising 3 times a week. He can keep up with our 3.5-year-old little girl.
No surgery, no complicated rehab or downtime.
It's completely life-changing for him.
You have options too. Before they whisk you away to surgery, slow down. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics, 319-229-5155. That's 319-229-5155. 319-229-5155.
We're doing it again. That's right, it's time for a Push Pull or Drag sale. Hi, it's Forrest Brown from the Browns family of dealerships. Push Pull or Drag is our most popular sales event, and I always get asked how it is so successful. I just explained, we try to make things easy, straightforward, and fun. Now till the end of March, we'll give you a minimum of $1,500 for your old clunker on any used vehicle priced at $4,000 and up. All of our inventory is clearly marked with our everyday low prices. No gimmicks or hassles. You see it in black and white. Grab your title and your old clunker and get to any Browns location. We have a great selection of over 300 quality used vehicles in stock to choose from. We also have finance specialists on hand who can arrange financing for your budget. So stop by and talk to some of the friendliest people in the business, pick out your vehicle, and see how easy it can be. That's the Browns family of dealerships in Guttenberg, Elkader, West Branch, and Victory Ford in Dyersville. Check us out online at victorywithbrowns.com.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
We're back for post-game coverage on the Iowa Hawkeye Radio Network. The Iowa Hawkeyes take Game 1 of our doubleheader between Iowa and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Hawkeyes win Game 1 by a final score of 4-2, and it's their 3rd win in a row. Iowa took the 3-0 lead early in the bottom half of the 2nd inning. Sammy Diaz had a 2-run single to center field to get the Hawkeyes on the board. The bases were loaded at the point with 1 away, and the 1-out single into center gave the Hawkeyes the early lead. And then Anna Streff in the 9-hole hits a ground ball to third base, and aggressive base running out of the Hawkeyes, and Klosterman on third gave Iowa their 3rd run of the inning. Nebraska made things a little bit interesting later on in the game. In the 5th inning, they were able to load the bases with nobody out against Brianna Vasquez, who started for the Hawkeyes. And Vasquez got the fielder's choice ground out for the first out. followed by a pop fly that stayed on the infield and a good morning, good afternoon, good night strikeout for the third out to get out of the jam. But then in the top half of the sixth inning, Nebraska did eventually push some runs across the board as one of the Andrews sisters was able to go yard for the Cornhuskers. It was a shot into deep left field that Andrews was able to turn on, and it was Brooke Andrews, that is the center fielder. Billy is the starting shortstop, but Brooke turned on, sent one deep into left field off of Vasquez, and the score was made 3-2 at that point. Before, in the bottom of the sixth inning, Briley Klosterman sent a no-doubt shot off of her bat into deep right field to give Iowa the insurance run and, more importantly, give them the momentum back. And that ended up being the final score as the Hawkeyes win 4-2. We'll come back just a little bit later and talk a little bit more about the stats that everybody had in our post-game coverage. You're listening to Iowa softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
We're doing it again. That's right, it's time for a push, pull, or drag sale. Hi, it's Forrest Brown from the Browns family of dealerships. Push, pull, or drag is our most popular sales event, and I always get asked how it is so successful. I just explained we try to make things easy, straightforward, and fun. Now till the end of March, we'll give you a minimum of $1,500 for your old clunker on any used vehicle priced at $4,000 and up. All of our inventory is clearly marked with our everyday low prices. No gimmicks or hassles. You see it in black and white. Grab your title and your old clunker and get to any Browns location. We have a great selection of over 300 quality used vehicles in stock to choose from. We also have finance specialists on hand who can arrange financing for your budget. So stop by and talk to some of the friendliest people in the business, pick out your vehicle, and see how easy it can be. That's the Browns family of dealerships in Guttenberg, Elkader, West Branch, and Victory Ford in Dyersville. Check us out online at victorywithbrowns.com.
It may be hard to imagine green fields and warm sunshine right now, but we are smack dab in the middle of Tractorcade 2023 planting season. WMT's 24th annual Great Eastern Iowa Tractorcade will roll out of the Fayette County Fairgrounds in West Union this June 11th through 14th. Mark your calendars accordingly. Registration is open and the forms can be found under the events tab on the WMT website at 600WMT.com. New this year is a buddy bonus that includes a discount for new riders and those that refer them to Tractorcade. The beautiful rolling hills of Northeast Iowa will provide another scenic 3-day ride this summer. Small towns like Elkader, Fort Atkinson, Wadena, and St. Lucas will provide a beautiful backdrop for this year's ride. Follow along on the WMT Tractorcade Facebook page for more information, pictures, and stories. Tractorcade 2023 will be here before you know it, this June 11th through 14th. Hope to see you there.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye softball on 800 KXIC.
Welcome back to Pearl Field for our post-game coverage of the Iowa Hawkeyes in their first game of our Tuesday afternoon doubleheader against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. The Hawkeyes walked away victorious from Game 1 with a 4-2 win over Nebraska. Hawkeyes scored 3 runs in the bottom of the second inning, gave up 2 in the top of the 6th before getting one back off of a solo shot from Briley Klosterman. It was a no-doubter off the bat. And the Hawkeyes ended up winning the game by a final score of 4-2, their third straight victory. If we want to take a look at our final stat line, Brianna Vasquez gets the win. It's her 11th win on the season. She went 6 innings and only allowed 2 runs on 5 hits, striking out 2 and walking 1. Both runs she allowed came off of the big 2-run home run from Brooke Andrews in the top of the 6th inning. And Vasquez, it was a much needed performance from her after getting roughed up in her last outing. But Vasquez was able to pitch around trouble multiple times throughout the game. Biggest time was in the top of the fifth when Nebraska loaded the bases with nobody out, and Vasquez was able to get a ground out fielder's choice for the first out, a pop fly that stayed on the infield for out number 2, and then a 1-2-3 pitch strikeout that ended on a fastball up in the eyes of Nebraska. And she went through the 9-1-2 spot when those bases were loaded. And she was replaced by Denali Lecker, and Lecker, who has been pretty dominant out of the bullpen thus far, remained on that path in this one. She came in just the one inning, and she allowed a hit, a 2-out double off the wall, but did not allow the runner to score. She had 1 strikeout and 4 batters she faced, and only needed 13 pitches to get her 4th save of the season. On the Nebraska side of things, pitching-wise, they only used 1 pitcher, and Courtney Wallace, who got the start. Let me look at my notes here. Wallace's 17th start of the season. She started 3 of Nebraska's last 4 games now, including this one. And she finished going 6 innings, allowing 4 runs, only 3 of them earned, however, on 5 hits, striking out 3, and walking 2. So Wallace, who has had her ups and downs this season, puts together a decent outing for Nebraska. Nebraska, a team that typically only utilizes 2 pitchers. They've only had 4 pitchers enter the circle all season long, and one of them hasn't even reached 10 innings on the season in Kendall Mangle. But Courtney Wallace, the definitive ace of this squad, pitched well over 100 innings this season. 108 coming into today, 108 2/3, marked the second most in the Big Ten. And you add the 6 more that she just completed now, and you have to imagine that she might still be available out of the pen in Game 2 of our doubleheader. Sarah Harness will likely receive the ball for Nebraska to start Game 2. She is the second most utilized pitcher on this Nebraska squad. Sarah Harness, it would be her 15th appearance on the year. No, excuse me, her 17th. Looked in the wrong box on my stat sheet here. Her 17th appearance on the season. She's got over 60 innings, and you compare that to number 3 on the squad, who only has 25. Have to imagine that Sarah Harness is going to get the nod, but Courtney Wallace was the starting pitcher in Game 1, and as I said, she went 6 innings, 4 runs, 3 earned, 3 strikeouts, and walked a pair. And she will get the loss. It's her 6th loss of the year. If we look at our offensive side of things, Iowa's bats, they came alive at the right moments. Only had 5 hits total on the day. They were actually out-hit by the Cornhuskers 6-5. And Iowa continues to find ways to win even when they get out-hit. It's their second one of the season. But Nebraska kept getting runners on base, but the Iowa pitching was able to keep them from crossing the plate. Iowa finished up getting 4 runs on 5 hits and had 1 error defensively in the field. Nebraska had 2 runs on 6 hits, and they had 2 errors. And the 1 error proved to be a costly one for Nebraska, and it was in that second inning. It was after Diaz had the bases were loaded at the point with 1 out, and Diaz rips a 2-run single into left center field, but Andrews, the Nebraska center fielder, was able to go over and cut off the ball and stop and hold the runners to first and second base, only allowing the 2 runs. But on the throw in, it was a little bit low and errant, and it got over her. It got beneath her sister's glove and rolled all the way to the Iowa dugout along the third baseline. And Klosterman, who was the runner who was on second base, had the heads-up base running, was able to advance to third, and it ended up proving costly because Streff, in the very next batter, hits a ground ball to third base, and Klosterman was able to score from third, and it was a play where if she was still on second, Gray, the Nebraska third baseman, had the ability to just step on third and then maybe even have the time to throw over to first base for the double play. But we'll take another timeout as we're about 10 minutes away from first pitch. You're listening to the Iowa softball postgame coverage on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
At QC Kinetics, we have story after story of patients freed from agonizing pain through amazing regenerative treatments. But this one, well, it's special.
My father, who is 70 years old, had both of his knees worn out. He went to an orthopedic surgeon who said you need both of your knees operated on. We can book you for next week.
That's Dr. Daniel Zuckerman, medical director for QC Kinetics.
Had him come to QC Kinetics. We treated both of his knees using our protocols with regenerative medicine. Within a few months, he was back to walking. A few months later, he was at the gym exercising 3 times a week. He can keep up with our 3.5-year-old little girl.
No surgery, no complicated rehab or downtime.
It's completely life-changing for him.
You have options too. Before they whisk you away to surgery, slow down. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics, 319-229-5155. That's 319-229-5155. 319-229-5155.
It may be hard to imagine green fields and warm sunshine right now, but we are smack dab in the middle of Tractorcade 2023 planting season. WMT's 24th annual Great Eastern Iowa Tractorcade will roll out of the Fayette County Fairgrounds in West Union this June 11th through 14th. Mark your calendars accordingly. Registration is open and the forms can be found under the events tab on the WMT website at 600WMT.com. New this year is a buddy bonus that includes a discount for new riders and those that refer them to Tractorcade. The beautiful rolling hills of Northeast Iowa will provide another scenic 3-day ride this summer. Small towns like Elkader, Fort Atkinson, Wadena, and St. Lucas will provide a beautiful backdrop for this year's ride. Follow along on the WMT Tractorcade Facebook page for more information, pictures, and stories. Tractorcade 2023 will be here before you know it, this June 11th through 14th. Hope to see you there.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
As we continue with our post-game coverage of Game 1 of our Tuesday doubleheader between the Iowa Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers. Iowa took Game 1 of the doubleheader, final score of 4-2. Hawkeyes winning their 3rd game in a row and are looking for their 2nd sweep, if you want to call Sunday's game against Penn State a little Sunday sweep on their Sunday afternoon doubleheader. We take one final look at the final stat line from this most recent game. Leading the way offensively for Iowa, there was a bunch of people who tallied a hit. Over half of the starting lineup did, but no one was able to scratch off the multi-hit game. But Bradley Klosterman came up big with that solo shot in the 6th inning that gave Iowa a 2-run lead. It was much needed after it looked like Nebraska had all the momentum, hitting a 2-run home run just a half inning ago to cut the Iowa lead to 1 run, but Bradley Klosterman steps up and sends a no-doubter over the right field wall. And then Sammy Diaz went 1 for 3, but that one hit was a big 1-out single that drove in the first 2 runs of the game for the Hawkeyes. And the Hawkeyes, when they score first, they advance to 17-3 on the season. Compare that to just 4-9 when they allow the opponent to score first. And more importantly, in my mind, because it's the fun stuff, The Hawkeyes move to 4-1 when they wear pinstripes this season. And they are 1-0 at home. Other people who had tallied a hit, Nia Carter had continued with her dominance, going 1 for 3. Tristan Doster had a hit in 3 plate appearances. Grace Baines singled to right in her first at-bat. And then, of course, Klosterman with the solo shot and Diaz the 2-run single. If you turn things over to the Nebraska side of things, they had 2 players in the lineup tally a pair of hits. Maya Felder, the 3-hole, went 2 for 3. And Brooke Andrews in the 6th spot went 2 for 3 as well, but one of those was the big 2-run home run in the 6th inning. That pulled them within 1, but it wasn't enough as the Hawkeyes win Game 1 of our doubleheader 4-2. As we're about 5 minutes out from starting our second game, we'll take one last media timeout before first pitch. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
We're doing it again. That's right, it's time for a push, pull, or drag sale. Hi, it's Forrest Brown from the Browns family of dealerships. Push, pull, or drag is our most popular sales event, and I always get asked how it is so successful. I just explained we try to make things easy, straightforward, and fun. Now till the end of March, we'll give you a minimum of $1,500 for your old clunker on any used vehicle priced at $4,000 and up. All of our inventory is clearly marked with our everyday low prices. No gimmicks or hassles. You see it in black and white. Grab your title and your old clunker and get to any Browns location. We have a great selection of over 300 quality used vehicles in stock to choose from. We also have finance specialists on hand who can arrange financing for your budget. So stop by and talk to some of the friendliest people in the business, pick out your vehicle, and see how easy it can be. That's the Browns family of dealerships in Guttenberg, Elkader, West Branch, and Victory Ford in Dyersville. Check us out online at victorywithbrowns.com.
It may be hard to imagine green fields and warm sunshine right now, but we are smack dab in the middle of Tractorcade 2023 planting season. WMT's 24th annual Great Eastern Iowa Tractorcade will roll out of the Fayette County Fairgrounds in West Union this June 11th through 14th. Mark your calendars accordingly. Registration is open and the forms can be found under the events tab on the WMT website at 600WMT.com. New this year is a buddy bonus that includes a discount for new riders and those that refer them to Tractorcade. The beautiful rolling hills of Northeast Iowa will provide another scenic 3-day ride this summer. Small towns like Elkader, Fort Atkinson, Wadena, and St. Lucas will provide a beautiful backdrop for this year's ride. Follow along on the WMT Tractorcade Facebook page for more information, pictures, and stories. Tractorcade 2023 will be here before you know it, this June 11th through 14th. Hope to see you there.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
We're a little less than 3 minutes away from starting Game 2 of our Tuesday afternoon doubleheader between the Iowa Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers. Iowa took Game 1 by a final score of 4-2, excuse me. It was 3-2 before Klosterman hit the solo shot in the 6th. But that was Game 1, and as we turn things over to Game 2, the Hawkeyes are going to roll out their same lineup, at least offensively. Nia Carter will lead things off in right field. Batting second is Tatiana Roman in center. The shortstop, freshman Tori Bennett, will bat third. Denali Lecker will be the DP and hit cleanup, and expect her to come out of the pen again if our starting pitcher runs into a little bit of trouble. Behind the plate is Tristan Doster, batting fifth in the prime RBI spot. And batting sixth over at the hot corner is Grace Baines, batting seventh, our home run hitter last game, Briley Klosterman. In left field, over at first base, and batting eighth, Sammy Diaz, and rounding out the lineup at second will be Anna Straffen. In the circle for the Hawkeyes will be freshman Jalen Adams. Adams, a 5'8" freshman from Fort Dodge, Iowa. A 4-7 record on the season, a 1.73 ERA, and 64 2/3 innings pitched. It'll be her 10th start of the season, which is the second most on this Iowa team, and opponents are hitting just a little over 200 against her and 212 on the season. And her last pitching appearance, I don't even know if we can count it as a pitching experience because she only went 1/3 of an inning, and we don't know if it was just a short leash that we saw from her or if it was Coach Gillespie just didn't like what she saw. She started game 2 of their doubleheader on Sunday against Penn State, and she pitched 1/3 of an inning, allowed 1 run on 3 hits. But the game before that, in their Friday game against Penn State, she went 8+ innings, pitched into the 9th. She allowed 3 runs on 8 hits, struck out 2, and didn't walk anybody. And one of those 3 runs that she'd allowed was a walk-off solo home run to Liana Jones in the bottom of the 9th inning, in what was the only game Iowa lost over the weekend. If we look at Nebraska's side of things, leading off will be Billy Andrews, and starting at shortstop. Batting second is number 19 out in right field, Caitlin Neal. Batting third, the first baseman and number 5, Maya Felder. And hitting cleanup over at third base, number 7, Sydney Gray. And batting fifth at second base, and sporting Route 66 on the back of her jersey, is Caitlin Caneda. And batting sixth is the player who hit the home run last game out in center field, Brooke Andrews. Ava Breadwell will bat after her in the 7th spot, and she'll catch today's game. Abby Squire will be out in left field and batting 8th. And batting 9th, and as our DP in what was for Game 1 starting pitcher, Courtney Wallace. She will act as our DP for starting pitcher, and we were guessed correctly, Sarah Harness. Wasn't that hard, as I said, to guess who their starting pitcher was, as Nebraska has essentially used 2 all season as teams will take the field for the warm-ups. As we are just about ready to get underway between the Iowa Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers. Hawkeyes looking for the Tuesday afternoon sweep in their first home games of the season and start Big Ten play with a 4-1 record. One last reminder, around the field for the Hawkeyes. In the outfield from left to right will be Briley Klosterman, Tatiana Roman, and Nia Carter over in right field. And on the infield from third, short, second to first will be Grace Baines, Tori Bennett, Anna Streff, and Sammy Diaz. Behind the plate will be Tristan Doster, and in the circle, making her 10th start of the season, is Jalen Adams. So Adams is in the circle for the Hawkeyes. As I said, it's her 10th start of the season. A 1.73 ERA in 64 2/3 innings. And the first batter she is going to face will be Billy Andrews, the junior shortstop for Nebraska, wearing number 6. In Game 1, Andrews went 1 for 4. On the season, Andrews is a .364 hitter coming into today. As she digs into the lineup, and we're about ready for our first pitch of Game 2 between the Iowa Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers. First pitch is a weak ground ball over to the left side. Bennett ranges to her right. Long throw is a little low, and Andrews beats it out anyway. So an infield single starts Game 2. That was a very, very tough play for Bennett at the shortstop position. Had to range all the way over to her right side, so our left up in the press box ranging over towards third base, and Andrews running hard out of the box was able to beat it out. And she gets the leadoff single. Doster makes a change in her play sheet on her wrist. And she comes back behind the plate as Caitlin Neal digs in now for Nebraska. Neal went 0 for 4 in game 1. Stands on the left-hand side, and Adams just yanks one all the way up into the backstop, and Andrews advances to second very nonchalantly. Adams just kind of got stuck in her hand a little bit. Threw the wild pitch, and it might have hit the netting, maybe just barely got the top of the pad. But Andrews was able to advance easily, and Nebraska has a runner on second with nobody out here in the top of the first inning. Neal shows bunt, pulls it back, and it's a ball. Count goes 2-0. Bunt coverage the Hawkeyes are rocking with on this play with a runner on second and nobody out. Baines and Diaz, both corners are coming in charging hard. Bennett, the shortstop's going over to cover third, and Streff's running over as the second baseman to cover first. Shows bunt again, gets it down in front of the plate. Adams comes off, makes the throw from her knees, and it goes wide and into the outfield. Andrews is going to come around and score on the errant throw. Neal advances to second base, and Nebraska's on the board early. We'll see how they officially score that one. It's definitely a Hawkeye error. Maybe they call it a single first, and then this run scores on the air. But we're still waiting, and it looks as if they're just going to call the entire thing an error. I think with a good throw, that would have been an out from Adams. As Doster goes out and is talking to Adams on the mound. And it looks like we're having a little... I can't even tell you what's going on here, Coach. Coach Ravel is out there talking, and it looks like they're going to call this a double hit on the bunt. So they're going to wipe the run off the board. So here's what happened. I thought maybe when I saw it live that it could have happened, but they played through it anyway. So here's what happened. It was called a double bunt. She hit it once, but she was still in the box when she hit it again. It was on accident, of course. But it'll go down as a foul ball. So there's no run on the board. As a ball is thrown to make the count 3 balls and 1 strike. They called that a foul ball. Andrews remains at second base. We are still scoreless, and there's nobody out. 3-1 count. And there's ball 4 low and away. So Neal reaches anyway. But after what was a little bit of chaos going on here in the top of the first inning, there are runners on first and second with nobody out, and Maya Felder coming to the plate. Felder went 2 for 3 in game 1. Hits a chopping ground ball to Bennett at shortstop, who charges and throws over to first base. No time for the play at second, but the throw to first is in time for the first out, and that serves as a sacrifice bunt for Felder, as Nebraska now has runners on second and third with 1 away for Sydney Gray. Gray went 1 for 3 during game 1. Gray, a .269 hitter on the season. First pitch she sees is a hard pitch inside, ball 1. Couldn't tell if that was just a fastball or maybe even a screwball. Iowa wearing their pinstripes today. Advanced to 4-1 earlier on the day when they wear pinstripes. Most important stat that you'll ever hear. Second pitch is inside. 2 balls and no strikes to Sydney Gray, the third baseman for Nebraska. A walk here, remember, isn't the worst thing in the world because first base is empty, and it puts the force play back on anywhere. And here's a weak ground ball to third base. Bennett comes forward, makes the throw. A run will score as Andrews crosses the plate. So after the chaos we had during batter number 2, Nebraska scores a run anyway on the ground ball and hold a 1-0 lead here in the top of the first inning. So Caitlin Kaneda comes up now with 2 outs in the top of the first inning. Kaneda 0 for 3 during game 1. First pitch she sees is a strike pumped in there. 0-1. Kaneda won the Big Ten Freshman of the Week in the first week of March this season. It has the 6th highest batting average in all the Big Ten coming into today. Skies a fly ball into left field. Klosterman comes on and makes the catch for the 3rd out. Nebraska pushes across 1 and take the 1-0 lead. After half an inning, Nebraska won. The Hawkeyes coming up to bat. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
It's time for a great night out in Coralville. This is Mayor Megan Foster inviting you to join us Saturday, April 1st for the Fourth Fest Basket Auction at Brown Deer Golf Club. Starting at 4:30, view baskets brimming with gift certificates, treats, unique specialty items, and more. Stay for the bidding at 5:30 and take home your favorite basket. All proceeds go to Fourth Fest, Coralville's spectacular summer event. Let's make it bigger and better than ever at the Fourth Fest Basket Auction on April 1st. Check coralville.org for details.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
Hawkeyes coming up to bat for the first time in Game 2 of our Tuesday doubleheader between the Iowa Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers. I'm Lucas Strain, and you're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network. Iowa offensively is going to run out the same lineup that they did during Game 1. And it's changed a little bit from what we saw last weekend. Top 4 stayed the same with Carter, Roman, Bennett, and Lecker. And 5 through 9 have just been switched around a little bit with Doster, Baines, Klosterman, Diaz, and Streff. And pitching during Game 2 for Nebraska today will be number 2, a junior right-handed pitcher in Sarah Harness. She's 5'7" from Bowling Green, 9-3 record on the year. A 2.67 ERA to lead the team in 60 1/3 innings pitched. In the Purdue series this past weekend, over 2 appearances, she pitched 7 1/3 innings, allowing 1 run on 6 strikeouts and 4 walks. So very cool. Squad. Carter comes up and swings first pitch. Hoops one into the 6th spot, and Andrews goes over and makes the catch, almost overran it. So Carter, who we know loves swinging early, first pitch, does there, but she just pops one over to Andrews, just behind third base. So out number 1 is Tatiana Roman. Will come up now. Another lefty in this Hawkeye offense. Roman 0 for 2 during Game 1. Swings first pitch as well, but she fouls this one off over the left side, 0-1. As I said, Roman 0 for 2 during Game 1, but in the last game she had before this one against Penn State on Sunday, she went 3 for 5 with a double and scored a run. Second pitch she sees is up and in, ball 1 from Harness. Hawkeyes 20-12 on the season, 3-1 in conference play, and are a perfect 1-0 at home. Hard ground ball from Roman goes foul. She slapped that one, but it just goes down as a strike anyway, and the count is 1-2. Nebraska taking their first loss in 5 games, was riding at least a 4-game winning streak prior. All 4 games had been at home. This is their first road game of Big Ten play as Roman slaps one foul. Kind of a check swing. Looking to hold up, but she was just a tad late in checking the swing. So the count will stay 1-2 to the sophomore center fielder. Harness takes the sign into her motion and the pitch. Is a check swing back to her at the mound. She gets it, fires over to first base, and there is out number 2. So quickly 2 up, 2 down for the Hawkeyes in the top half of the first inning, and Tori Bennett will look to avoid the 1-2-3. Now the Hawkeyes went 1-2-3 in the first inning of game 1 and were able to win, but Nebraska had failed to score in the top half. Iowa already found themselves in a 1-0 hole here. Bennett 0 for 3 during game 1 with a strikeout. Takes strike 1 that catches the outer half. Coming into today, Bennett was 10 for 18 in her last 4 games, and going hitless last game ended her 8-game hitting streak. She's behind 0-1 to Harness, and she takes one off the fist and skies it into the stands. Quickly behind 0-2. 2 outs, nobody on in the home half of the first inning for the Hawkeyes in game 2 of our doubleheader. They trailed Nebraska 1-0 after taking game 1 by a final score of 4-2. Last game marked the 7th game in a row where Iowa opponents had scored less than 5 runs. And there's a changeup taken, strike 3 called, as Bennett goes down looking. And Harness gets her first strikeout of the day. So the Hawkeyes go 1-2-3 in the first inning. And after 1 complete, Nebraska leads it 1-0. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, no matter how many times I've washed it.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried new Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in 1 wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products. Save on Downy Rinse and Refresh at Target.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
So the Hawkeyes go 3 up, 3 down in the top half of the first inning, as Nebraska will lead things off in the second with Andrews. This is Brooke Andrews, who had the big 2-run home run in the top of the 6th of their last game. This was game 1 earlier this morning. So we're just waiting for our clock to run out so we can get things started in the visitors' half of the second inning. Nebraska leads it 1-0. The Iowa Corn Cyhawk Series is all about celebrating our student athletes as well as our state's corn farmers. Just like the Cyclones and Hawkeyes work hard all year to get ready for the season ahead, so do Iowa's corn farmers, growing a crop used in over 4,000 products. That's a win for all Iowans. Iowa looking to get their 4th straight win. And a win during Game 1 ensured that they would at least tie this 2-game series with Nebraska, as Adams pumps in her first pitch, which is pulled foul by Andrews, and talked about how important that Iowa at least splits this series with Nebraska. This will mark the... Let's see if I can pull this stat up here. Going back to last year, Nebraska had won 6 straight Big Ten series against Big Ten opponents, including one earlier this year. So Hawkeyes have at least guaranteed a tie. Here's an off-speed that is flared out into center field, and there is a diving catch by Tori Bennett. No! Our field umpire has decided that it in fact hit the ground. Bennett went out in the shortstop and makes a diving attempt. Full extension, shallow center field. But our third base umpire has said that it has hit the ground, and Coach Gillespie has come out and asked him to at least talk about it with his crewmates. I mean, from where we're sitting here, the ball was hit almost straight behind Bennett, so there was just no way for us to see it. See if we can get a replay of it, but the umpires have talked things over, and it was a very quick discussion, and the ruling stays the same. Apparently, they said that Bennett did not hold on to it for long enough, and back-to-back innings where Nebraska Andrews sisters have led things off with a base hit for tough plays in the Bennett at shortstop. First pitch to Ava Bradwell is a fastball taken low and inside, ball 1. Bradwell went 0 for 2 with a walk in game 1 and struck out once as well. Fouls one off and it goes over the first base dugout to even the count at 1 apiece. Jalen Adams is back in the circle for the Hawkeyes. In her last outing, she started the game against Penn State on Sunday, but she only got 1 out before getting pulled by Coach Gillespie. Here's a line drive into right field, and it slices, and it's off the glove of Nia Carter. Carter ran in on it at first, but the ball just seemed to kept carrying and slicing down the right field line. Carter had to change her route halfway there and stuck her glove up at the end, and it just hits off of it, and they ruled a base hit. She nearly made the catch anyway, but it'll go down as a no-out hit for Bradwell, so back-to-back singles off of the Hawkeye defender's gloves to start off the second, and Nebraska has runners on first and second with nobody away. As Coach Mandy Gardner heads out to the circle to have a meeting with Adams and Doster. Now Coach Levan goes out and has a chat with his infielders. And we'll see if Squire gets the bunt signal here from Coach Ravel. Nebraska's head coach, Rhonda Ravel, in her 31st season at the helm of the Cornhuskers. Winningest coach in Nebraska's program's history. 1,061 wins into her career. And now 621 losses after the loss during Game 1. So Abby Squire digs in now. Shows bunt. Gets it down. A really good bunt right in front of the plate. Doster pops up. Fields barehanded. Throws over to Streff, who is covering first for out number 1. So the sacrifice bunt is successful for both squads, really. Nebraska now has runners on second and third, and Iowa gets the much-needed out. So it brings up the 9-hole hitter and Courtney Wallace. Wallace, who was the starting pitcher last game for Nebraska. She was certain, but in the first game, she came in towards the end and hit in her own spot. And she takes strike 1 inside. She went 0 for 1 in that game. She has not hit as often as she has when she has. She has not hit as often as she's been in the circle. She takes an off-speed inside. Count goes 1-1. As I said, she has not seen as much action at the plate as she has in the circle. A .304 batting average nonetheless, and this is her first time hitting since March 15th at Omaha. So about a 2-week difference. She takes ball 2 upstairs, 2-1 to the Nebraska DP. They have runners on second and third with 1 out and are enjoying a 1-0 lead over the Hawkeyes in Game 2 of our doubleheader. Adams into the motion and the pitch is a ground ball to Bennett at shortstop. Looks the runner back to third base, throws over to first in time for out number 2. So a very good defensive play there from the Hawkeye shortstop. Fielded the ball cleanly. Looked Andrews, who was the runner on third for Nebraska, looked her back towards the bag. Fired over to first for the second out. And now the lineup turns over for the Cornhuskers, and it's Billy Andrews, the leadoff hitter, who was the shortstop, 1 for 1 today. Adams' pitch is taken by Andrews, a curveball that's a little bit low. Ball 1. Andrews 1 for 1 today. She singled on a hard ground ball to Bennett at shortstop to lead off the game. It was a ball hit into the 6 hole, and Bennett had to range over quite a ways She fielded it cleanly, but the throw was too long for her, and Andrews was running hard out of the box. Here's a ground ball to Baines over at third. Cleanly fielded. Throw is just a little bit low. Diaz has to go down and lay on her stomach to make the catch, but she does. So a little bit of a scary throw there from the Iowa third baseman. But the catch is made by Diaz over at first for the third and final out. So Nebraska gets runners on second and third with one out, but fails to score either one of them. They got no runs on 2 hits, no errors, and left 2 on. So after 1.5, Nebraska leads it 1-0. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
Don't miss the factory authorized clearance at RV1 Superstores. All 2022 RVs must go. Look for the blue tags with clearance pricing up to 40% off on America's favorite brands. Hurry, when the tags are gone, so are the savings. Get 40% off at the factory authorized clearance at RV1 Superstores, a Blue Compass RV company. Visit RV1.com. Example 22 Braxton Creek Free Solo, number SI 1026, MSRP 22,222. See dealer for details.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
Pretty decent weather here at Pearl Field, home of the Iowa Hawkeyes. For Iowa Softball, we're here for Game 2 between the Hawkeyes and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I am Lucas Strain. Nebraska leads it 1-0 as we head to the bottom of the second inning. Weather is pretty decent. It's 49 degrees here in Coralville, Iowa. Wind is blowing out. It's picked up. It's gone away. It's changed directions. But as of right now, the wind is somewhat settled down. A slight breeze out towards right center field, according to our 3 flags out behind the right center field wall. So leading off the bottom of the second for the Hawkeyes is Denali Lecker, who will take the first pitch outside 1-0. Lecker 0 for 2 during Game 1. She drew a walk, however. Lecker came in relief in the circle during Game 1 and got her 4th save of the season. As she pitched the 7th inning, she hits a hard ground ball down the third base line past the diving glove of Gray. She'll stay at first base, but that's a leadoff single for Denali Lecker. It was hit pretty well down the third base line. Sidney Gray, the Nebraska third baseman, made the diving attempt at it, but just a little bit late. And Lecker, who's not the most fleet of foot, remained at first base, and now she'll get ran for. This is Haley Down, who we saw run for Lecker during Game 1 as well. So Coach Gillespie knows how important it is to get their first run. And has already gone into her bench. Tristan Doster steps up now for the Hawkeyes. Doster, the catcher. She went 1 for 3 during Game 1. It's a battle of number 2s here between Harness and Doster. Harness throws strike 1 in there. Count is 0-1. Down is on first base. Nobody out in the bottom of the second inning for the Hawkeyes. Into the motion. Doster shows bunt, pushes it down the first base line. It's fielded by Felder, who makes the tag. So that'll go down as a 3 unassisted and a sacrifice bunt for Doster. She bunted it really hard down the first base line, and Felder, who's the first baseman, came in charging. Fielded it pretty cleanly and all in one motion, applied the tag onto the catcher in Doster and for the first out. But down is on second base. With 1 out here as Grace Baines digs in for the Hawks. Baines takes first pitch outside 1-0. Baines 1 for 3 during Game 1. In a hard single into right field. And later came around and scored. A check swing here from Baines. And it just nicks the bat and nearly goes into the first base dugout. So the count's 1-1. There was one just right inside on her hands there. It wasn't even really a check swing. It was just It was more of the yes, 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 no approach that you want your hitters to take, and it just happened to hit her right on the handle. So the count's 1-1. Next pitch is swung on and missed, strike 2. And Baines is behind 1-2. Baines still leads the Big Ten in triples this season with 3 of them. Was the primary second baseman to start the year, but has really solidified her spot over at third. Behind 1-2. Here's an off speed that's thrown way upstairs. Baines doesn't chase. Ball 2. Looked like something that was either a riser or it just got stuck in Harness's hands just a little long. And win way high. 2 balls, 2 strikes with 1 out and a runner on second. Hawkeyes trail 1-0. This asks for a new sign from the dugout. And time is called by Baines. Sarah Harness, the Nebraska pitcher, is a transfer from Southern Illinois and last season was all Missouri Valley Conference first team. End of the motion now. Change up. Baines is able to sit back and foul it off into the netting. So we'll repeat. Harness, coming into today, was tied with Wallace for most strikeouts on the team, despite throwing nearly half of the innings as Wallace, who of course got the nod in Game 1. The 2-2 pitch is taken, strike 3 called. It caught the inside corner on Baines. There was a screwball there from Harness, and she's got her second strikeout of the afternoon. And brings up Briley Klosterman. Klosterman, who had the big solo home run in the bottom of the 6th inning that nearly killed all the momentum Nebraska had built up. It was a solo shot that was just a no-doubter off the bat. She skies one deep into center field here, and Andrews is going back, battling the sun, and she drops it. Down will come around and score for the Hawkeyes, and Klosterman stands at second base. And the Hawkeyes have tied this game. Andrews, who is looking right into the sun here as it's nearly 5 o'clock shadow. Andrews just lost it. And we're waiting to see how they're going to rule that one. A hitter in air, and up on the scoreboard, it is down as a hit. Very tough play there for Andrews out in center. Just lost it in the sun. And it goes down as an RBI. Klosterman. As ball 1 is thrown to Sammy Diaz. Nonetheless, this game is tied at 1 apiece. And again, once again, the Hawkeyes are proving that sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good. So Diaz digs back in, ahead 1-0. Swings and misses, Adrian Beltre style, going down onto the one knee. It was a pitch on the outer half, and Diaz was trying to put that one into the Heartland Inn parking lot. Here's a curveball taken outside by Diaz. Count goes 2-1. Diaz 1 for 3 during Game 1. Remember, she had the big 2-run single to center field in the second to give the Hawkeyes their first 2 runs. Looking to do something similar here. 2-1 count. Fouls it off the netting. Strike 2. So Nebraska is betrayed by the sun. Iowa's the one using it to tie this game at 1 apiece here in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Game 2 between Iowa and Nebraska. 2-2, Deuces Wild. And that pitch is upstairs, ball 3, and this counts full. So the count is full with 2 outs, a runner on second. And this game is still tied. Into the motion, and the pitch is fouled off. We'll do it again.
5:30 Friday, 4 o'clock Saturday, noon on Sunday.
This is Iowa's first 2 home games of the season. They'll come back with a 3-game homestand this weekend. Count is full to Diaz. And this is an off speed that's a little bit low and in the dirt, so Diaz reaches with the 2-out walk and brings up Anna Streff. Streff, who had the RBI ground out in the second inning. So runners on first and second with Klosterman on second and Diaz on first. This game is tied with 2 outs. And here's a bloop into shallow left field. Squire comes in, camps under, and makes the catch for out number 3. So the Hawkeyes use the Earth's natural elements to score run number 1 and tie this game after 2. This game is 1-1 as we head to the top of the third inning. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
This is Coralville Mayor Megan Foster. The city of Coralville was founded in 1873. Help us celebrate 150 years of building our community. Join the sesquicentennial celebration through October 2023. The city of Coralville will mark this milestone with activities, festivals, and events to celebrate our hometown's rich history, traditions, and diversity. Visit coralville.org/Coralville150 for more information about our rich history and bright future.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
Due up in the top half of the third for the Cornhuskers will be Neal, Felder, and Gray. Adams remains in the circle for the Hawkeyes. As we head to the top half of the third inning. When corn grows Iowa, Iowans win. Take a closer look and you'll discover the many connections you have to corn. And those connections translate into wins for farmers and wins for all Iowans. Share your winning moments using hashtag IowansWin. So this game is tied at 1-1 in Game 2 of our doubleheader this Tuesday afternoon here in Coralville, Iowa. Sun has begun to set and is getting to the point where it's getting into the eyes of the players, as we saw last inning, and getting to the point where if you're sitting directly in it, it could be a little bit warm. It's a little less than 50 degrees here, and with a strong breeze blowing out towards right field, balls are staying in the air just a little longer than usual. So Adams is in the circle for the Hawkeyes. Has bounced back in a decent way since her last outing against Penn State, where she pitched just a third of an inning. Gave up 1 run on 3 hits. First pitch is a ground ball to Streff, who dives. Throw from her knees is in time, out number 1. And a nice play from second baseman Anna Streff. Had to travel over to her left side, our right. Make the dive, and runner was sprinting hard out of the box and Neal. So Streff had to make the throw from both knees, and she does for the first out. Brings up Maya Felder for Nebraska. Adams, pitch, pulled foul. Felder is 0 for 1 in today's game. Game 2, that is, grounded out to Bennett at shortstop. Went 2 for 3 during Game 1. One of those 2 hits, a double, her 8th one on the season. And here's a ground ball to Baines over at third. Fields it kind of awkwardly, but comes up cleanly and makes the throw for the second out. Say she fielded that one kind of awkwardly because it just kind of jumped up at her at the last second like a snake through tall and tangling grass. Just kind of jumped up at Baines, but she reacted quickly and threw over to first. So quickly 2 away as Sydney Gray digs her way into the box and takes strike 1 on the lower inside corner. Gray's 0 for 1 today, but in Game 1, but she had an RBI on the ground out to give Nebraska their first run of the day, and only one thus far. Takes ball 1 low and in the dirt. So we have time called here, and Doster goes out into the circle to talk with Adams, and Coach Rhonda Ravel pulls her batter over, and we'll talk to her. Coach Rhonda Ravel in her 31st season at Nebraska. You compare that to Coach Gillespie, who's in her 5th. Counting today's win, 103 career victories at Iowa. So Gray re-enters the box, and the count's at 1-1. Diaz is into the motion, and a nice changeup, and apparently was fouled off. Strike 2. It was kind of a check swing. I thought Gray might have just held up entirely, but our umpire said she just caught a piece of it and fouled it directly back into the glove of Doster behind the plate. But it goes down as a strike anyway. So here's a line drive into left field, and that'll drop for a base hit for Gray. Just over the glove of Bennett at shortstop, but it's a 2-out single for the Nebraska third baseman. So Nebraska's had plenty of action on the bases in Game 2 today, but have only been able to push across the 1 run. So Caitlin Caneda will step up to the plate now. Second baseman who's 0 for 1. Adams' pitch is a ground ball to Streff at second, who backshands and will step on second base herself for the force out. So Streff gets the 4 unassisted fielder's choice for the third and final out of the inning, and Nebraska goes scoreless on 1 hit, no errors, and left 1 runner on. After 2.5, Nebraska and Iowa tied at 1 apiece. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
What you've heard about probiotics is probably wrong.
I eat yogurt, so I don't need to take a probiotic.
Probiotics? They don't really work.
It's time to learn the truth about probiotics from Align, the probiotic brand recommended by gastroenterologists 2 times more than any other probiotic brand. Align has probiotics to naturally help relieve occasional bloating, gas, and abdominal discomfort. Try Align for a month and see how great a healthy gut can feel at AlignProbiotics.com.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
As we head to the home half of the third inning between the Iowa Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers. Nebraska scored the first run of the game in the top of the first, but Iowa answered in the bottom half of the second to tie this thing up. Nebraska 1 run on 4 hits and no errors. Iowa the 1 run on 2 hits and no errors themselves. Iowa aided a little bit from the sun, as there was a 2-out hit from Briley Klosterman into center field, and Andrews, the Nebraska center fielder, lost the ball in the sun, which is setting almost directly behind home plate. It's the second game in a row, or a second series in a row, that we've seen Iowa aided by the sun. First pitch to Nia Carter, leading things off as a strike pumped in there, strike 1. Carter is 0 for 1 in her first at-bat. She popped up weakly to shortstop in the first inning. She went 1 for 3 during Game 1. And she sends a line drive back up the middle, but this one is caught by Harness. And that was a really nice poke there from Carter, but it just seemed to go right at the glove of Harness, so there's out number 1. You know, they sometimes say that you can't buy a hit, but I think Carter has the ability to buy a hit whenever she wants to. It's just sometimes they're not falling. And that appeared to be one of those times. So Tatiana Roman steps in now for the Hawkeyes. She slaps one foul. It bounced off the netting. And the count's 0-1. Roman 0 for 1, grounded out back to Harness. in the first inning. Roman is 0 for 2 during game 1 with a strikeout, but a .343 hitter coming into today. She takes a curveball upstairs, 1-1. Roman has been swinging it well, even though it hasn't appeared so in the last game. In her last 9 games, was hitting over .400. Has earned her spot as the number 2 in the lineup. She slaps one down the left field line. Back goes Squire about 2 steps, who makes the catch about 4 feet to the right of the foul line. But that's quickly 2 outs, with Tori Bennett coming to the plate for Iowa. Bennett struck out looking in the first as the Hawkeyes win 1-2-3 in the first frame, looking to avoid going 1-2-3 in the third. First pitch is an off-speed, a little bit low. Ball 1. So Bennett, who went 0 for during game 1, saw her 8-game hitting streak finally snapped as she failed to reach base safely on Courtney Wallace. Looking for more success here against Sarah Harness, who pumps in strike 1. And the count is 1-1. So Harness takes the sign into the motion, and the pitch to Bennett is a pop fly that's popped in foul territory. It's going to stay in play, but it's off the glove of Gray. It's still a foul ball, but Gray overran that just a little bit. She was running towards her right, overran it, and had to come back towards her left, and it hits off the tip of her glove. So Bennett stays alive, but is behind 1-2. So the 1-2 to Bennett she sticks her bat, and it's a blooper down the right field line. It will drop in no man's land. So Bennett lucks out after Gray fails to make the catch in the previous pitch. She gets a bloop single down the right field line. So the Hawkeyes have a runner aboard with 2 outs, and Denali Lecker coming to the plate. Lecker is one of the players that drives in runs most often for the Hawkeyes. 31 RBIs to pace the team. It's the second most in the Big Ten. She takes a off speed that catches the lower half of the zone, strike 1. Check that, Denali Lecker's tied for 4th in the conference with RBIs. Was tied for 2nd heading into their weekend series with Penn State. Just got the 1 and was passed up on by a couple other players. Here's a line drive and a base hit out into right field. Bennett will stop at 2nd. So back-to-back 2 outs hit, 2 out hits the other way for the Hawkeyes, and 2 on with 2 out. And it's Tristan Doster who steps up now for Iowa. Doster, the Hawkeye catcher, sophomore from Fort Dodge. Fort Dodge is where a lot of these Hawkeye players have come from. You can just go down the list of different players with Tori Bennett and Tristan Doster and Jalen Adams. Fort Dodge is very prevalent in this Iowa softball program. Here's a changeup that's in the zone, strike 1 to the Iowa catcher. Doster had a sacrifice bunt in her first at-bat just an inning ago. Went 1 for 3 during game 1 and 1 for 3 in their last game against Penn State with a 3-run home run. Swings and misses at strike 2. So she is behind 0-2. Iowa has 2 runners on. Runners on first and second. Lecker on first, Bennett on second. With 2 away in the bottom of the third in a tie ball game. Doster shows bunt, pulls back, swings and misses for strike number 3. So a good morning, good afternoon, and good night strikeout from Sarah Harness. strands a pair of Iowa runners. The Hawkeyes get no runs on 2 hits, no errors, and leave 2 runners aboard. I'm Lucas Strain, and you're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
Iowans, you have dozens of betting options. Try a sports book built by bettors and run by bettors. Fred Doan started Betfred over 50 years ago with funds from a winning bet, and he's been known for delivering the best betting experience ever since. Visit betfredsports.com to give us a try. New customers betting $50 get 111 in Fred bets and up to 200 Fred bets per week for 5 weeks. Terms apply. Proud partner of the Iowa Cubs and Iowa Wild. Must be 21 plus. Wagers only accepted in Iowa. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
We are through 3 at Pearl Field in Coralville, Iowa, as the Iowa Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers at tied are 1 apiece in Game 2 of our doubleheader. Nebraska scored in the top half of the first, and Iowa tied things up in the bottom half of the second. University of Iowa Healthcare is a game plan for your same-day healthcare needs. If you need treatment for a common illness or minor injury, visit one of several UI quick care or urgent care locations throughout the Iowa City Cedar Rapids corridor. Their care and expertise will help you get back in the game. UI Healthcare is proud to sponsor your Iowa Hawkeyes. So the Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers tied. Both teams have 1 run on 4 hits, and neither has made an error defensively. Both teams have had the ability to get runners on, just haven't quite been able to push the run all the way across. So leading things off for the Cornhuskers in the top of the 4th inning will be Brooke Andrews. Remember, she had the 2-run home run during Game 1 to pull Nebraska within 1. She takes ball 1 inside from Jalen Adams, who remains in the game for the Hawkeyes. Remember, Adams is one of those players who just has the potential to go for a very, very long time. As there's a ball. Remember, on the Iowa's Friday night game against Penn State, Adams was able to pitch well into the 9th inning, going 8+, allowing 3 runs on 8 hits before eventually giving up the walk-off home run. And here's a fly ball deep into left field. Klosterman's back at the wall, turns, and watches it go over. As there is Brooke Andrews' 2nd home run of the day. This one gives Nebraska the 2-1 lead. So that one was not as quite as a shot as her first one. I thought Klosterman might have had a play, but it just had enough to leave the yard as Brooke Andrews gets her 8th home run of the season and 2nd one of the day. She has already set a career high in home runs this season. Here's a changeup high from Adams. Ball 1. It's Ava Bradwell at the plate now, who's 1 for 1. Brooke Andrews with her 8th home run of the season, and her and her sister Billy, as Bradwell takes ball 2. Brooke and her sister Billy are the number 1 and 2 in home runs for this Nebraska squad.
So now Brooke Andrews with 8 home runs on the year.
Nebraska leads it 2-1 as Adams misses inside. Count moves to 3 balls and no strikes. So Adams is struggling just a little bit with command following the solo home run from Brooke Andrews. And there's ball 4, a little up, little outside. So Here in this fourth inning, Nebraska's got a home run and now a 4-pitch walk from Adams. So here comes Coach Gardner back out to the mound.
Coach of the Hawkeyes makes her way out to the circle. Earlier today, the NFCA released
Brings up Abby Squire, the Nebraska left fielder,
You'll be shocked to know that Oklahoma's number
who's batting eighth and has a sacrifice bunt in this game. Squire went 0 for 2 in game 1, as Coach Gardner is still out in the circle trying to talk to her freshman pitcher.
and Tennessee fourth and Clemson at fifth. UCLA won a series over Oregon.
Iowa's now following their game 1 win, 3-1 in conference play. Nebraska, who is 3-0 coming into today, has also dropped down to 3-1 as well. So using that tiebreaker, Iowa would be ahead of Nebraska. But here in game 2, Nebraska holds a 2-1 lead in the top of the fourth inning, as we're almost halfway done with game 2 of our Tuesday doubleheader. And there's ball 1 inside to Squire. So that's 5 straight balls from Adams.
Washington up a spot to 8. Texas up a spot to 9. Arkansas up 2 to 10.
Adams takes the sign, goes back into the motion, and there's a foul ball from Squire. And the count is back to 1-1.
Spots to 11. Va Tech down a spot to 12. Duke up a spot to 13. LSU up 1 to 14. Georgia up 2 to 15.
Iowa defense fairly straight up, playing a little shallow in the outfield. Here's a pitch that's a little inside, but it's also a little low. And for ball 2, count is 2 balls and 1 strike. Nebraska up 2-1 here in the top of the fourth inning. 2 runs, 5 hits, no errors. Leads Iowa's 1 run on 4 hits and no errors. And here's a fly ball to deep right field. That one's going to slice in. That one goes over the wall as well. So Abby Squire hits Nebraska's second home run of the inning. And the Cornhuskers now hold a 4-1 lead. That was a opposite field shot from Squire. Her second home run of the season. That was one that she got her hands extended on and pushed it out towards right field. Wind's blowing out towards right field, but that was definitely going to go out without the aid of the wind. As Doster, the catcher, will go out and talk to Adams. We'll see if maybe we're going to see that old patented move you see in baseball and softball games where the catcher goes out and talks to the pitcher, then the pitching coach is going to go out and talk to the pitcher before finally having the manager go out and give the nod. Just giving somebody else plenty of time to warm up, and we have to imagine that a pitching change is going to happen, as there is. As Denali Lecker will come out, and we're going to take a break as she warms up. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
Don't miss the factory-authorized clearance at RV1 Superstores. All 2022 RVs must go. Look for the blue tags with clearance pricing up to 40% off on America's favorite brands. Hurry, when the tags are gone, so are the savings. Get 40% off at the factory-authorized clearance at RV1 Superstores, a Blue Compass RV company. Visit RV1.com. Example 22 Braxton Creek Free Solo, number SI 1026, MSRP 22222. See dealer for details.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
So Jalen Adams' day is done. Back-to-back rough outings for the freshman from Fort Dodge. Her final stat line today, 3 innings pitched, allowing 4 runs on 6 hits, no strikeouts, and a pair of walks. And that's coming off an even rougher outing against Penn State on Sunday, where she only lasted a third of an inning, allowing 1 run on 3 hits. So the last 2 pitching appearances, not ideal for Jalen Adams. Denali Lecker is into the game to pitch for Iowa. Lecker, who came in during Game 1 in the 7th inning to pitch the final frame and get her 4th save of the season. And she's in to pitch now, and the first person she's going to face is Courtney Wallace, who spits a foul ball along the right side, now to play. So as I said, Lecker came in and got the save during Game 1, so her stats have changed just a little bit, but coming into today's doubleheader, so not including Game 1, she had a 1.63 ERA to lead this Iowa team, 32 strikeouts to just 15 walks. Second pitch is a check swing low. Wallace didn't go around. Ball 1. This is Lecker's 13th appearance of the season. And it's her 13th appearance, and she's only started twice, so definitely someone who just typically comes out of the pen. And this one is fisted foul along the first base line from Wallace. So the count is 1-2. And something we often see from Lecker, at least on Sunday, is her first batter is usually her roughest. It usually takes her at least one batter, maybe one, and into the second one to get settled into the game. Here's a weak ground ball hit back to Lecker, who pops off the mound and makes the play at first base for the first out of the third. And Nebraska will turn the lineup over, and coming to bat for the 3rd time already this game is Billy Andrews. Andrews is 1 for 2 today, or in this game to say, that is. A single that stayed in the infield in the first inning, and a ground out in her second plate appearance. The first pitch is a curveball taken outside, 1-0. We've already seen a pair of home runs this inning from Nebraska, a solo home run from Brooke Andrews and a 2-run homer from Abby Squire. As Andrews takes a curveball outside, 2-0. And we know that Billy Andrews has that home run potential. She is really the best hitter in this Nebraska lineup. Leads the team in runs, home runs, and walks. And is in the top 10 in multiple offensive categories as she swings and misses here. Offensive categories, she's 5th in the Big Ten in slugging percentage. This is, of course, amongst all qualified batters. A slugging percentage over 700, 6th most runs scored, 3rd most hits, and is tied for the 3rd most home runs in the Big Ten with those 10 long balls. As ball 3 is thrown outside, 3-1. Iowa's next games will be this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all at home. As Andrews sends a foul ball along the right side, Carter gives chase but runs out of room. And the count will go full. So we mentioned Iowa's back at home this weekend, but you have to imagine that a lot of people's attentions are going to head over towards the basketball court as the Iowa women's team is playing in the Final Four against South Carolina. As Lecker throws ball 4 to Andrews for a one-on walk, and Caitlin Neal stepping to the plate now. That Iowa basketball team playing a very quality opponent in South Carolina, undefeated. A lot of voters are looking at this one between the top 2 players for the Player of the Year award. And Caitlin Clark for the Hawkeyes and Aaliyah Boston for South Carolina. We know Caitlin Clark, how much she carries the load offensively, but Aaliyah Boston does just a little bit everything. As there's ball 1 to Neal. Boston does just a little bit of everything for that South Carolina squad and is the main reason that they've jumped out to a 36-0 record. It's pretty good, I'd say. 1-0 is a curveball that catches the outside corner. 1-1. So we see Lecker using the same approach that she has all season. Loves the soft stuff on the outer half of the zone. Doesn't matter who she's throwing to, and she's going to keep it low. Here's another one. This one just falls a little bit outside. Count goes 2-1. Lecker working fairly quickly, gets back into the circle, into the motion, and her pitch is pumped in there for strike two. Caitlin Neal, one of the Nebraska players who has started every game this season, one of 4, her 34th start. The 2-2 is a line drive back up the middle, and it hits off Lecker. Bennett goes over, throws behind towards second base, and it's dropped by Streff. So a little bit of chaos ensuing, and Nebraska gets 2 runners on. So there was a hard line drive right back up the middle, and it hit Lecker, the pitcher. And then Bennett, who was ranging over to the left to go make the play initially, watched it bounce off Lecker, went over to her right, went and fielded the ball, and Andrews, the runner on first going to second, got off second a little far, so Bennett threw back to Streff behind Andrews, but Streff wasn't expecting it. Came in a little hot, and she dropped it. So Maya Felder steps up now with 2 on and 1 out and sends a fly ball into left center field. Klosterman goes over and calls off Roman, and she catches it for out number 2. So Felder goes to 0 for 3 on the day. And the cleanup hitter now for Nebraska is Sydney Gray. And Sydney Gray is 1 for 2 in game 2 of our doubleheader. Lecker throws her first pitch and pumps a strike in there, 0-1. Nebraska has already scored 3 runs in this inning. Broke the 1-1 tie to take a 4-1 lead after losing game 1 to the Hawkeyes, 4-2. Here's a foul ball that's going to slice foul and goes out of play along the right field line. And the count is 0-2. Nebraska 7 hits so far on the day, most of them coming up against Jalen Adams, the Hawkeye starter. The 0-2 is placed pretty well out in the outside corner, but has ruled the ball. Gray wouldn't chase, 1-2. Lecker spinning the ball into the motion and the pitch. And here's a bloop into shallow center field. Bennett goes back, and it goes into no man's land. Andrews is going to round third and score for Nebraska. So a bloop single plates Nebraska's 4th run of the inning and 5th one of the game. You could put a blanket over that spot. For Iowa defensively, there was just no way that Bennett, Klosterman, or Roman were going to meander their way over and catch that Gray pop fly. And with 2 outs, Andrews was running off the bat and gives Nebraska the 5-1 lead. Kaneda takes strike 1 on the outer half. So Nebraska has already plated 4, and with 2 on and 2 outs, that means that they have hit around in the order. Kaneda, the 9th batter to come around this inning for Nebraska, looking to avoid being the final out in back-to-back innings. Lecker steps back onto the mound. 1-1 pitch is fisted the other way. A diving stop by Bennett, but she has no play at first base. So it's an infield single and everyone's safe. So the bases are loaded for Nebraska, and Brooke Andrews is coming to the plate, who already has a home run this inning. Bennett had to dive after that ball in the 6 hole. And Kaneda was a lefty, and somewhat of a slap approach, was already halfway down by the time that Bennett had fielded it. She just had no play. So strike one is taken by Brooke Andrews. Bases are loaded with 2 outs. Nebraska's already scored 4 runs in this inning and enjoy a 5-1 lead. Lecker back into the motion, and her pitch is spat the other way. It goes foul. The count moves 0-2 to Brooke Andrews, who has already hit 2 home runs today. One in this inning and 1 in game 1. Both hit pretty well over the left field wall. Lecker into the motion and the pitch. Goes bowling a little bit. Doster's able to block it up. Gets away from her just a little, but not far enough for Neal to advance from third base. So the 1-2 pitch with 2 outs and the bases loaded. And it's an off-speed in the dirt, drop third strike. Doster picks it up and steps on home with her glove. So Iowa gets out of the inning, but not before Nebraska plates 4 on 5 hits, no errors, and they left the bases loaded. So Nebraska scores 4 in the half inning, and after 3.5 complete, the Cornhuskers have taken a 5-1 lead. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
Making a move from the outhouse to the penthouse? Do you have property your brothers need help with transferring ownership? Do you love everything Hawkeye from Kinnick to Carver? Then you'll want to talk with us. Hi, this is Steve Anderson with Hawkeye Title and Settlement, ready to serve you high-quality real estate title and closing services. Oh, and we also love our Iowa basketball, but we're also happy to assist Cyclone fans too. Hawkeye Title and Settlement of Iowa City and HawkeyeTitle.com. The team you love, the people you trust.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
Bottom half of the 4th inning approaching as the Nebraska Cornhuskers scored 4 in the top half to take a 5-1 lead over the Iowa Hawkeyes. I'm Lucas Strain, and you're listening to Iowa Softball with Learfield. The game was a 1-1 tie before Brooke Andrews stepped up and hit a solo home run to lead off things. Abby Squire hit a 2-run home run the other way, and a little bit of small ball, a little bit of a team effort got Nebraska their 4th run of the inning as they take a 5-1 lead. So Grace Baines will dig in now and try and start a comeback for the Hawkeyes. Remember, Iowa was able to make their their second win of the series against Penn State a come-from-behind win, but the largest lead they ever faced in that one was 1. And in this game, they're trailing by 4. Ball 1 to Baines.
Nebraska trying to even this doubleheader. 1-ball pitch on the way from
So the 1-0 is a strike on the inside half from Sarah Harness. So a 1-1 count to Baines, who was 0 for 1 today, as the sun is finally starting to set here in Coralville, Iowa. As here's a fly ball into deep center field, back at the wall, and it is gone! Let's see. You later. Grace Baines hits a line drive over the center field wall and cuts into the Nebraska lead. Nebraska 5, Hawkeyes 2. It was a line drive right at the scoreboard out in center field, and it was hit pretty low. I didn't know if it had just enough to reach over the wall, but it did, and Grace Baines sneaks one under the scoreboard and over the wall to give the Hawkeyes their second run of the game. It's Baines' second home run of the season. brings up Briley Klosterman for the Hawkeyes. Klosterman, who hit her own home run during Game 1. She takes ball 1 a little bit low. So we talk about the Hawkeyes had a come-from-behind win in Game 3 against Penn State on Sunday. And looking to get a come-from-behind win against Nebraska here in Game 2 of our doubleheader. They trail by 3, 5-2. As Harness pumps in a strike to even the count. 1-1. Klosterman back into the box, and the delivery from Harness is a curveball that's low and in the dirt. Ball 2. Nebraska jumped out to the 1-0 lead. The Hawkeyes evened things up in the bottom half of the second inning. Nebraska scored 4 in the top half of the fourth inning. And Iowa's gotten one of them back thus far with nobody out here in the home half. And the pitch is low and away for ball 3 to Klosterman, who is now ahead 3-1. Klosterman is 1 for 1 today. And remember, she had that double in the second inning to Andrews out in center field, where Andrews was battling the sun and it caused her to drop it. And a Hawkeye run scored off of it. Here's a hard ground ball that will reach the outfield for a single. As Klosterman's able to rip a hard ground ball between Kaneda and Felder and into right field. So back-to-back hits to start out the fourth inning. As Sammy Diaz will come to the plate now. As it looks like we're going to have a visit on the mound for Nebraska. Gotta love the heart that we've seen from this Iowa team. Nebraska scores 4 to take the lead, but the Hawkeyes immediately bounce back, score 1 on the solo home run, and follow it up with a rip of a single into right field. So Sammy Diaz will come to the plate for the Hawkeyes. She's got a walk in her only other plate appearance in this game. In Game 1, she went 1 for 3 with a 2-run single into center field that gave Iowa their first 2 runs of the game. Remember, she had a home run in the Penn State series this weekend, a solo shot into left center field. So we'll see if the power can strike twice in a 3-day span. Hawkeyes trail it 5-2 in the home half of the fourth inning. I'm Lucas Strain. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network. Diaz gets her sign from Gillespie over at third and finally gets back into the box. Harness takes the sign from her coach into the motion and the pitch. Diaz shows bunt, pulls back, and it's a ball inside. Nebraska's using the crashing corners bunt coverage here. Gray, the third baseman, and Felder over at first are both coming crashing hard. Kaneda, the second baseman, is sprinting over to first base to cover, and Andrews, Billy Andrews that is going over to cover second. Diaz doesn't show bunt here and rips a single into left field just past the glove of Gray at third. So 3 hits in a row for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and the tying run is coming up to the plate. And Anna Streff. It looked like the Nebraska defense was expecting the bunt there, so Gray was playing very close in over at third base, and Diaz, who ripped the ball over in that direction, pulled it right past Gray's outstretched glove, and it looks like Nebraska is having everybody come in and meet in the circle. We might have a pitching change for the Cornhuskers. When corn grows Iowa, Iowans win. Take a closer look and you'll discover the many connections you have to corn. And those connections translate into wins for farmers and wins for all Iowans. Share your winning moments using hashtag IowansWin. So Courtney Wallace, who was the starter in Game 1, will come out and come in relief of Sarah Harness, whose day is done for now, that is. She could re-enter the game and come back in relief later. So Harness's final stat line, she goes 3+ innings, allowing 2 runs on 7 hits, striking out 3 and walking 1, but she's also responsible for the 2 Hawkeyes that are already aboard. So Wallace is on to pitch again for Nebraska. Remember, she was the starter in Game 1, has pitched most of the innings this year for the Cornhuskers. In Game 1, Wallace finished throwing 6 innings on 3 earned runs, 4 total, on 5 hits, striking out 3 and walking 2. She threw 100 pitches in that game. But remember, pitch count's a little bit different in softball than it is in baseball, if you're just a baseball fan. Denali Lecker, our very own Lecker, threw over 100 in her 2 pitching appearances combined on Sunday and has come back in and come in relief of this game. She got the save during Game 1 in the 7th and has come in relief so far this inning. So Wallace is on the bump for Nebraska. Coming into today's game, a 3.16 ERA. She had the most wins in the Big Ten, the 2nd most inning pitched, but she also has the 10th highest batting average given up against her. So runners on first and second with nobody out for the Hawkeyes, and Anna Streff is coming up to the plate, and you have to imagine that this is a place where the sacrifice bunt is probably going to be placed for the Hawkeyes. Runners on first and second, nobody out, and Nia Carter awaits on deck. And Streff does show bunt, and she chops at it and misses. So strike 1 on the attempted bunt. Looked like she was running out of the box before she had even made contact with it. So Streff gets back into the box, shows bunt once more, and gets this one down in fair territory. Gray comes forward, the third baseman, and throws over to first in time for out number 1. So that'll go down as a sacrifice for Streff, as the Hawkeyes get runners on second and third, with Diaz at second, Klosterman at third, and Nia Carter at the plate. You have to imagine nobody else you'd rather have. But she is 0 for 2 today, and only went 1 for 3 during Game 1. Before today's game was a .495 batting average to pace the Big Ten. She swings first pitch and sends a ground ball to first base. A fielder's choice is coming in from Felder, and the throw is late home, so everyone is safe. A bit of a confusing play there from the Nebraska first baseman as the Hawkeyes score a run. So Felder came in and fielded the ground ball from Carter. Klosterman, the runner at third base, came running home off the bat, and Felder was indecisive about where she wanted to go with the ball. First she went for the tag on Carter, and then before she went for the tag on Carter initially, but then she threw home, changing her mind halfway through, but the throw home to Breadwell was late on the sliding Klosterman, so everyone's safe for the Hawkeyes. And they have runners on the corners with 1 out, with Tatiana Roman at the plate, ahead 1-0. The corners are still in as Roman swings and hits a foul ball that hit the plate. That one looked like it had just nicked the plate. Now, of course, the plate is in fair territory, but our home plate umpire declares it a foul ball. Nebraska defensively had popped up. But the ruling was that it's a foul ball, so the Hawkeyes still have runners on the corners with 1 away, and Roman at the plate. She takes a curveball that missed outside just barely. And the count is 2-1. Sun is completely coming down now. Definitely getting into the eyes of our defenders as it sits right behind the press box and burning onto my back. Counts 2-1 to Roman, who takes inside. Carter goes down, takes second base. There's no throw. So Carter gets the steal. So the Hawkeyes have runners on second and third with one out. Roman at the plate. A 3-1 count as the Hawkeyes trail 5-3 but have two runners in scoring position. With Carter's speed, any hit's going to tie the game. Here's a ground ball to third base. Gray looks her back to first, throws back to third, and Diaz is tagged out. Diaz does not like the call, neither does Coach Gillespie. So that's a fielder's choice that works out successfully for Nebraska. Roman hit the ground ball to Gray at third. So now there's runners on first and second with two away, and what looks like a promising opportunity for the Hawkeyes might only turn into one run. As Bennett hits a ground ball towards the left side, fielded by Andrews. Her throw is low in the dirt, and Bennett reaches with the infield single to load the bases. That was a tough play there for Andrews at shortstop. It's a really long throw. Wasn't an advisable throw for her. Nearly made the play anyway. But Bennett was running hard. Reaches on the infield singles. Now the bases are loaded with two outs, and Denali Lecker at the plate, who's 2 for 2 today. She swings first pitch and skies one out of play along the right side. We said Lecker is 2 for 2 today. A pair of singles, a hard ground ball into left field, and a line drive into right, so she's spraying the ball everywhere. Behind 0-1 with the tying run on second base for the Hawkeyes. Wallace into the delivery, and here's a curveball that winds up outside, counts even in 1-1. Iowa scored a pair in this inning after the leadoff home run from Baines. And now everyone working together, pushed across one more to trail by 2. Lecker fouls one off into the netting, and that was her pitch. And she was just a tad bit late, caused her to cut under the ball. She's a tick earlier, and that's one that she's ripping into left center field. Scoring at least 2 for the Hawkeyes, maybe even 3, with Bennett's speed over at first. 1-2 count, bases loaded, 2 outs. And Lecker just gets enough of one, fouls it off into the padding. We're going to do it all over again at 1-2. It's been a very long fourth inning on both halves. Nebraska scored 4 in the top half, and Iowa's got a pair in the bottom half. So the bases are still loaded with 2 outs in a 2-run game. Wallace takes the sign. The 1-2 is a line drive into left field, but it's right at Squire out in left, who makes the catch, and that one had base hit written all over it. Until Squire was able to range over and makes the catch along the line, hit right on the button from Lecker. But it was hit right at the left fielder, so the Hawkeyes get 2 runs on 4 hits, no errors, and leave the bases juiced. But they cut the Nebraska lead in half. So after 4, Nebraska leads at 5-3. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
Don't miss the factory authorized clearance at RV1 Superstores. All 2022 RVs must go. Look for the blue tags with clearance pricing up to 40% off on America's favorite brands. Hurry, when the tags are gone, so are the savings. Get 40% off at the factory authorized clearance at RV1 Superstores, a Blue Compass RV company. Visit RV1.com. Example 22 Braxton Creek Free Solo, number SI 1026, MSRP 22222. See dealer for details.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
We are through 4 in Coralville at Pearl Field, the home of Iowa softball. The Hawkeyes trail at 5-3 after they strand the bases loaded after Denali Lecker ripped a line drive into left field, but right at Squire, the Nebraska left fielder, for the third and final out. Due up in the top half of the 5th inning for the Cornhuskers will be Breadwell, Squire, and Wallace. Wallace is the scheduled batter, but she tends to not bat when she is pitching, and she is now entered the game on the bump. Laptop has fallen. That's what my little high-pitched squeal was for, folks. Must have kicked the cord. But we're not broken, and that's all that's important, guys. We're okay. We are okay, and we're back in action here. I tried to catch it, and that's where my little high-pitched squeal came in. First pitch from Lecker to Breadwell is a ball. We are A-okay. First, the next pitch from Lecker. He's low and in the dirt, ball 2. Kicked my laptop over. Got my papers all strewn about. 2-0 count to Breadwell, who hits a hard ground ball to Bennett at shortstop, goes down onto one knee to field it, and makes the strong throw across the diamond for out number 1. So after Lecker fell behind, was able to get the hard ground out to Bennett for the 6-3. So Squire steps up now. Squire, who has the 2-run home run a half inning ago that gave Nebraska a 4-1 lead. Lead now sits at 5-3. She takes strike 1. So the sun is completely in the eyes of our players now, beating hard on the backs of all of us. As there's ball 1 upstairs. As I said, Squire is 1 for 1 today. She had that big home run. She also has a sacrifice bunt, so player with the home run power is putting down the sacrifices. As there is a strike 2, an off speed that caught the lower part of the zone from Lecker. So 1-2 count is fouled off by Squire. So there's still 1 ball and 2 strikes. The Cornhuskers lead it 5-3 in the second game of our doubleheader. And there it is, swung on and missed as Doster applies the tag on the drop third strike. So Lecker gets the strikeout, her second strikeout of the afternoon. And there are 2 away in the top half of the 5th inning. Courtney Wallace will, in fact, hit for herself. That was the question we were asking. She does not tend to hit for herself when she is pitching. But she is in right now and takes one up and in. Has to back up just a little bit. That's a warning shot from Denali Lecker saying, "Get off of my plate." Lecker back into the circle. And here's a weak ground ball to Bennett at short, who charges, makes the throw on the run, and in time to get the speedy Wallace, who is running hard out of the box. So nice play from the Iowa shortstop and Bennett. Nebraska goes 3 up, 3 down in the top half of the 5th. Nebraska leads at 5-3. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
What you've heard about probiotics is probably wrong.
I eat yogurt, so I don't need to take a probiotic.
Probiotics? They don't really work.
It's time to learn the truth about probiotics from Align, the probiotic brand recommended by gastroenterologists 2 times more than any other probiotic brand. Align has probiotics to naturally help relieve occasional bloating, gas, and abdominal discomfort. Try Align for a month and see how great a healthy gut can feel at AlignProbiotics.com.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
We are just finishing up the 5th inning stretch at Pearl Field in Game 2 between the Iowa Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers. Nebraska leads it 5-3 after Iowa took Game 1 at a 4-2 final. Due up for the Hawkeyes in the home half of the 5th inning is Doster, Baines, and Klosterman. Remember, Baines had a solo home run in her last at-bat, and Klosterman hit a home run in Game 1 of the series. So Doster will lead things off, who she also had a home run in their last series. A 3-run home run in the 3rd game against Penn State. Weather has not changed very much. It sits at 48 degrees here in the edge of Iowa City, Coralville area, as there's ball one outside. It's bright and sunny after we had a little bit of snow earlier this week on Friday night, Saturday morning. As there's ball 2 a little bit low. The wind is picked up to about 11, 12 miles an hour, blowing out towards right center field, keeps rotating between right center and right, can't seem to make up its mind as Doster swings and misses for strike 1. Now that's one where Doster swung all the way as hard as she could, but they always say that if you're going to swing and there was one that you're like, I should not have swung at that one, just swing through it. You got 2 more strikes. So Wallace doesn't like the call, or maybe she's a little confused, calls time and steps off the mound, covering her eyes to see the catcher's signs. And she spikes one down into the dirt, going bowling. And it's 3-1. We talked about how she does sometimes lose command. We said that during Game 1. Control does seem to be an issue for her at times. She's behind 3-1 now to the Iowa catcher. And here's a fastball that's on the inner part of the plate for strike 2, and the count goes full to Doster, who was leading off the bottom of the 5th inning. Tying run is on deck for the Hawkeyes. As Doster hits a sky-high fly ball into right center field, Andrew ranges over and makes the catch two-handed for out number 1 in the bottom half of the 5th. So 1 down as Grace Baines steps up to the plate. She led off the 4th inning with a solo home run that just got over the center field wall. And she takes strike 1 on the outside part of the plate. In Baines' other at-bat today, she struck out looking. 0-1. And she just chops a ball foul back to the third base dugout. And the count is 0-2. Hawkeyes trail it by 2 after cutting what was a 4-run lead in half. And here's a ground ball to first baseman Felder, who bobbles it at first but steps on the bag. 4 out number 2. So Briley Klosterman will look to stop the Hawkeyes from a 3-up, 3-down inning in the home half of the 5th. Klosterman 2 for 2 today, a double into center field that was sent into the sun, and Andrews, the center fielder, couldn't quite find it as foul ball hits off the glove off the Nebraska catcher. Klosterman had that double that Andrews lost in the sun that led to Iowa's first run of the game, and then ripped a single down the right field just an inning ago, and later came around and scored. So 0-1 is taken as an off-speed in the zone. Strike 2. So Wallace is looking for the good morning, good afternoon, good night strikeout. We'll see how she tries to attack this 0-2 count to Klosterman. It's something soft, low and away, but Klosterman does not chase the changeup. Count is 1-2 with 2 strikes, nobody on in the bottom of the 5th inning. And swing and a miss. Klosterman goes down swinging, and the Hawkeyes go 3 up, 3 down in the bottom of the 5th. So through 5, Nebraska leads it 5-3. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
When I can't sleep, my mind just races. I think about work, the kids, but I don't think about taking melatonin because I'm afraid I'll feel groggy in the morning.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies has an optimal dose of melatonin for no next-day grogginess, so you can fall asleep naturally and wake up feeling refreshed. ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies for better sleep like never before. And try Pure Z Sleep plus Next Day Energy with melatonin plus extended release B vitamins.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
We are through 5 innings of play here at Pearl Field in the edge of Coralville, Iowa City area, as the Iowa Hawkeyes trail the Nebraska Cornhuskers 5-3 in Game 2 of the Hawkeyes home openers. Second series of Big Ten play for the Hawkeyes, after they won 2 of 3 against Penn State on the road this past weekend. And now they won Game 1 of the series 4-2. A trail here 5-3 in the top of the 6th. So leading things off, the junior shortstop, who is 1 for 2 today. Lecker's first pitch is pumped in, strike 1. Second pitch is low and in the dirt, ball 1. Count evens in 1 apiece. Andrews sits in there, Lecker, and there's a fly ball into deep center field, back at the wall, and it is off the scoreboard. Billy Andrews hits her 11th home run of the season, most on the team, and Nebraska's now enjoying a 6-3 lead in the top of the 6th inning. And we've seen some no-doubt home runs, and that is the most no-doubt home run that we have seen of the season. Off the bat, that landed about 3/4 of the way up the Hawkeye scoreboard out in center field. And Nebraska now holds a 3-1 lead, as we only have 2 innings left to play. Ball 1 to Caitlin Neal, who's 1 for 2. She went 0 for 4 during Game 1, so 1 for 6 on the day. Lecker brings the pitch, and it's a hard ground ball to Diaz at first, who gloves it and steps on the bag. And there's the first out. Maya Felder coming up next, 0 for 3. The Iowa City Cy-Hawk Series is all about celebrating our student athletes as well as our state's corn farmers. Just like the Cyclones and Hawkeyes work hard all year to get ready for the season ahead, so do Iowa's corn farmers, growing a crop used in over 4,000 products. That's a win for all Iowans. Felder rips one down the left field line, but it's going to fade foul. Count is 0-1. So it's a game full of different momentum shifts. Nebraska took the lead in the top of the first. Hawkeyes evened things up in the bottom of the second. And then the Cornhuskers utilized a 4-run fourth inning, using 2 home runs in that inning to take a 5-1 lead, as here's a line drive right to Klosterman out in left field, who makes the catch for out number 2. And then after the Hawks were trailing 5-1, they scored 2 runs in the bottom half of the fourth, including a solo shot from Grace Baines to make this game 5-3. But a solo home run from Billy Andrews has put Nebraska up 6-3. And strike one is taken by Sidney Gray. Gray 2 for 3 in game 2. A pair of hits in a very similar spot. One's a pop fly blooper between left center and short. And strike 2 is taken. Hawkeyes have 8, 9, and 1 waiting for them in the bottom half of the 6th inning. So here's an off speed, and it's a ground ball that goes about a foot foul down the third baseline. Gray been having a very good season for the Cornhuskers. She takes ball 1 on the 0-2. Downstairs and a little bit outside. And the count is 1-2. So Lecker's ahead, 1-2. The pitch to Gray is pushed foul down the first baseline. So Gray digs back into the box. Behind 0-2 on the count. And Lecker's pitch is pumped a little bit low on the breaking ball. And the count is 2-2. Deuces wild, 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs. Nobody on. Lecker's pitch is an off speed that is swung on and missed for strike 3. Lecker gets her 3rd strikeout of the afternoon. But Nebraska scores 1 more on the solo home run and take a 6-3 lead as we head to the bottom of the 6th inning. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
This is Coralville City Administrator Kelly Hayworth reminding you to shop and eat locally. Now, your favorite Coralville businesses offer more options for finding what you want for your home and family. Local restaurants, bakeries, and breweries have perfected carryout and delivery. Coralville shops continue excelling in personalized service. They take pride in helping you find the perfect item or gift for any occasion. Thank you for infusing Coralville with your shopping and dining dollars.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
To the bottom of the 6th inning we go, as the Iowa Hawkeyes trail the Nebraska Cornhuskers 6-3 in Game 2 of our Sunday doubleheader. Hawkeyes won Game 1 by a final score of 4-2. Trail this one 6-3 as Sammy Diaz is going to lead things off offensively for the Hawkeyes. Diaz is 1 for 1 in game 2 with a walk and a single on a hard ground ball into left field. Biggest things to pay attention to so far offensively today, or at least in this game for the Hawkeyes. Grace Baines hit a solo home run, her second home run of the season. So after we saw a bunch of Hawkeyes with home runs, but none of them were able to scratch off the second and get to multi-home run seasons, the last couple games we've seen Klosterman and Baines and Doster and Diaz all get up to that level, as ball one is taken a little bit low from the Hawkeye first baseman. So Wallace takes the sign back into the circle, and her delivery is a strike on the outer half of the plate, and the count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. Shadows have been very difficult to deal with for the batters, and now at the point at which the pitch is delivered as ball 2 is thrown in the dirt, right as soon as it releases from the hand of the pitcher, it's in the sun for about a split second, just only out of the hand, and then immediately goes into the shadows. So it's got to be very difficult for these batters to pick up on it. And here's a chopping ground ball to Gray over at third, who makes the long throw. It's a little high. Felder jumps, makes the catch, and applies the tag for the first out of the bottom of the 6th. Gray, who fielded that over the third base bag, stopped, made the long throw across the diamond, overcalculated just a bit and threw it over the head of Felder, but she was able to jump up and make the catch, land and tag Diaz for the first out. So Anna Streff comes up now, takes strike 1. Streff 0 for 1 in game 2, flew out to left and had a sacrifice bunt in the 4th. So the count is 0-1 from Wallace. Swung on and missed. Maybe actually just got a piece of it. Did Streff. But nonetheless, it's a strike, and the count is 0-2. So 0-2 to Streff from Wallace. He's fouled off into the netting, and we'll do it all over again. Hawkeyes trail 6-3. Iowa has not led yet in this game. As there's a line drive into right center field, and that one is going to drop in safely. Streff rounds first, but puts the brakes on. It was a nice play by Neal to cut it off out and right. But the Iowa 9-hole Streff has a 1-out base knock to turn the lineup over to Nia Carter. Carter is a very rare 0 for 3 today. 1 for 6 total between the two games. She's popped up, lined out, and grounded into a fielder's choice. The first pitch to Carter is one that just gets onto the black on the outer half. Strike 1 to the Iowa leadoff hitter. Carter has enjoyed a very good season thus far. Paces the Big Ten in batting average and hits, is second in on-base percentage. Takes the 0-1 outside for ball 1. In the Penn State series, she went 6 for 10 with a pair of doubles and scored 4 times. On the Friday's game, she scored twice, the only 2 runs Iowa scored. She fouls one off now off the padding. Streff tried to advance to second. Didn't know it was a foul ball. And she's beckoned back to first base by our first base umpire. So Carter is behind 1-2. And she struck out once in game 1, looking to avoid her 5th strikeout of the season The 1-2 to Carter is a hard ground ball towards the left side that just goes foul. Looked like that one was about a little less than a foot, maybe 6 to 8 inches from going over that third base bag. Nebraska leads it 6-3. 6 runs on 10 hits, no errors, and Iowa's got 3 runs on 9 hits and no errors defensively. The 1-2 is a line drive up the middle. That is caught by Andrews. The spin and throw to first is a little high. It goes off the wall, but Streff slides in safely at first. So Carter, who hit it well, it was just a nice play by Andrews at shortstop to make the stretching catch and rob Carter of what would have been her first hit of the game. So 2 outs as Tatiana Roman steps up now, who's 0 for 3. Streff is still on first. Roman is nearly a hitter who pushes nearly everything the other direction in her slap approach. And here's one that goes the other direction. A chopping ground ball to Andrews at short, fields cleanly, and a fire over to first is in time for the final out. So Iowa just fails to score after the 1-out single from Streff. They get no runs on the 1 hit, no errors, and left a 1 runner on base. So through 6 innings of play, Iowa trails Nebraska 6-3. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
Don't miss the factory authorized clearance at RV1 Superstores. All 2022 RVs must go. Look for the blue tags with clearance pricing up to 40% off on America's favorite brands. Hurry, when the tags are gone, so are the savings. Get 40% off at the factory authorized clearance at RV1 Superstores, a Blue Compass RV company. Visit RV1.com. Example 22 Braxton Creek Free Solo, number SI 1026, MSRP 22222. See dealer for details.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
Into the 7th we go between the Iowa Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers. Iowa trail 6-3 in Game 2 of our doubleheader, and we have a new pitcher on the mound for Iowa. It's going to be number 43, Emma Henderson. Henderson making her first Big Ten pitching appearance of the season. So, Lecker's day is done, at least for now. Her final stat line, she goes 3 innings, allowing 2 runs on 4 hits, striking out 3, and walking 1. So Emma Henderson, the new Hawkeye pitcher. It is her 5th appearance on the season, a 1-0 record, a 1.50 ERA over 9 1/3 innings. And the last game that she pitched in relief was against Marist. In that game, she went 6 1/3 innings, allowing 3 runs, although only 2 were earned. Allowing 6 hits and striking out 2. And her first pitch to Caitlin Kaneda is a ball outside. Kaneda is 1 for 3 today. She singled on an infield single, a ground ball to shortstop. The 1-0 is taken on the outer half for strike 1. So Emma Henderson evens the count at 1 apiece. Emma Henderson had the unique experience of pitching to her twin sister earlier this season. As Kaneda swings through strike 2. Emma Henderson is usually a pitcher who almost exclusively just pitches 1 inning every time she comes into the game. Usually comes in games like this one where the lead is a little bit different and Iowa doesn't want to use really many other pitchers as Kaneda fouls one out of play, and the count will stay 1-2. So this game will mark the end of a streak that Iowa had of 7 games in a row of holding the opponent to 5 runs or less, as Nebraska has scored 6 here to take a 6-3 lead Here's a line drive into left field, and it's going to get over the head of Klosterman. It reaches the wall. Caneda rounds first and heads to second. It has a leadoff stand-up double. So this Nebraska team, which has always been very good offensively, if you just look at their offensive stats on the year, they're second in batting average, second in slugging, second in hits, second in doubles. It's a team that just is a very good offensive unit. They average 1.81 doubles per game coming into today's doubleheader, which is best for sixth best in the nation, as Henderson throws ball one to Brooke Andrews. Another dangerous hitter for this Nebraska team. Brooke Andrews, a pair of home runs today. One in game one, another one in the fourth inning of this game. She hits a ground ball to Baines at third, who fields, throws over to first, and Diaz, who catches the low throw. Caneda does not advance from second base, so there's one away, as there's still a runner on second. And Ava Breadwell coming up to the plate, the Nebraska catcher. Breadwell takes the first pitch, a curveball, outside 1-0. Nebraska held this lead, held a 6-3 lead after 6 innings, and in the 15 games that they've led through 6, they are 15-0, have not lost a game in the 7th inning yet this season. Strike one is taken 1-1. You compare that to when Nebraska is losing after 6, and they're 0-5, so it doesn't account for the games in which they're tied, of course, but when Nebraska has the lead going into the 7th, they traditionally come away with the win, and they have not come back yet in the 7th inning this season. Ball 2 was thrown inside from Henderson. If we look at the Hawkeyes, when they enter the 7th inning and they're trailing, they've only got one victory in 10 tries, 1-9, when trailing after 6 this season. As there's a ball low and in, 3-1 now the count to Ava Breadwell. 6-11-0, leads 3-9-0. Hawkeyes looking for the Tuesday sweep of Nebraska, as there's ball 4 taken inside from Breadwell. So runners on first and second with one out, and Abby Squire coming to the plate. Squire had a pretty good day offensively. A 2-run home run pushed the other way in the 4th inning. Also has a sacrifice bunt today. She's got 2 runners on now with 1 out. She takes the first pitch, a fastball that catches the inside black, strike 1. Henderson takes the sign, ready to throw her 12th pitch of the inning and her first pitching appearance of Big Ten play. And here's a fly ball into deep left field. It's at the wall, and it is gone. Abby Squire has her 2nd home run of the day. And Nebraska now holds a 9-3 lead in the 7th inning. And another just no doubt home run from this Nebraska offense. And Squire's 2nd home run of the day, of the game that is, her 3rd home run on the season. Nebraska, let's see if I can get a count for how many home runs they have hit in this game. 4 home runs in this game alone for Nebraska, as ball 1 is taken by Wallace. 4 home runs from Nebraska, 2 from Squire, 1 from each Andrews sister. And Brooke Andrews had another one in game 1, so 5 total home runs today for this Nebraska squad as Wallace takes strike 2. Check that, strike 1. 1-1 count. And there is a curveball that does catch the plate for strike two. So 5 home runs on the day for Nebraska. This is a Nebraska offense that came into today's games hitting 34 of them as a team, which had them at third most in the conference. The 1-2 is outside to even the count at 2 apiece. So 2 balls and 2 strikes, 1 out. Courtney Wallace at the plate and Emma Henderson on the mound. Here's a weak ground ball to Bennett at short, who fields, throws to first, and the catch is made for the out of the inning. So Billy Andrews back to the top of the order for Nebraska. Henderson takes the sign as the Hawkeyes trail 9-3. Swing and a miss from the Nebraska leadoff hitter. And this game really got out of hand for the Hawkeyes in the top of the 4th inning. The game was tied 1-1 after 3. But 4 runs in the 4th for Nebraska, and they never turned back. Are outscoring the Hawkeyes 8-2 since the start of the 4th. Diaz gives chase over at a foul ball along the right side, runs out of room, hits halfway up the netting. So the count is 0-2. Coming up for the Hawkeyes in the 7th is 3, 4, and 5. So the part of the order that you want up there. But the count is 0-2 from Henderson. And this one is upstairs and a little outside. Ball 1. Andrews wouldn't chase. Billy Andrews, the sister of Brooke Andrews. Both of them have a home run in this game. Brooke has one. Brooke has a home run in game 1 as well, as there's ball 2 outside. The Andrews sisters rank number 1 and number 2 in this Nebraska squad in terms of home runs. Deuces are wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs. And here's a foul ball down the right field line. And Nia Carter runs over and makes a diving catch in foul territory. Really nice catch there from Nia Carter, the Iowa right fielder. I didn't think she would get there in time, but she runs, dives over, makes the catch, and runs back to the dugout with a big smile on her face. But the Hawkeyes have a pretty big hole to dig out of as Nebraska scored 3 more on 2 hits, no errors, and they lead this one 9-3 as we head to the bottom of the 7th inning. Hawkeyes down to their last chance. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
When I can't sleep, my mind just races. I think about work, the kids, but I don't think about taking melatonin because I'm afraid I'll feel groggy in the morning.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies has an optimal dose of melatonin for no next-day grogginess, so you can fall asleep naturally and wake up feeling refreshed. ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies for better sleep like never before. And try Pure Z Sleep plus Next Day Energy with melatonin plus extended release B vitamins.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
Into the bottom of the 7th inning we go. The Iowa Hawkeyes down to their last chance in this one. They trail Nebraska 9-3. 6-run deficit, quite the hole to dig out of if you're the Hawkeyes. Iowa 1-9 when trailing going into the 7th inning this year. And Nebraska is a perfect 15-0. And they hold that 6-run lead that might prove to be ever so important as the Nebraska Cornhuskers have blown this one open, scoring 3 runs in the top half of the 7th. Tori Bennett will lead things off for Iowa. The shortstop is 2 for 3 today. She struck out and has a pair of singles. And this is after going hitless in Game 1, so that snapped an 8-game hitting streak for the Iowa 3-hole hitter. Wallace is still in the circle, who pumps in strike 1. Wallace in her 4th inning of relief in this game. Remember, went 6 innings during Game 1 in Nebraska's 4-2 loss. Bennett takes that curveball, is a little bit low. Count evens at 1-1. The entire bleachers have now reached the shade, and the shade has nearly reached the entire circle. Pitcher's head just seems to be the only part still in the sun, and of course that's right where your eyes are. Wallace throws a ball inside, 2 balls, 1 strike. Iowa returns this weekend in a 3-3 set with the Northwestern Wildcats Friday, Saturday, Sunday. As the 2-1 curveball misses low and away, 3 balls, 1 strike. A 3-1 count to the freshman shortstop, and she pops one on that's going to stay in the infield. Kaneda goes out and makes a tough catch, battling the sun for the first out. That one traveled a little bit farther than initially appeared off the bat. Wind might have helped on that one, and Kaneda had to battle the sun with some pretty big difficulties there. But 2 outs to go. Stenali Lecker digs back in as she re-enters the game as the DP. Lecker is 2 for 3 today. And that 1 out was a line drive out as she takes strike 1. That one time she's gotten out in this game was a rip down the left field line that was hit right at Squire and left. At that point, the bases were loaded with 2 outs, and the Hawkeyes were only trailing by 2. As there's an off-speed curveball that is called strike 2, and Lecker falls behind 0-2. Bottom of the 7th inning, Hawkeyes trail it 9-3. Nobody on and 1 out. Nebraska 2 outs away from getting the 2-game split. There's a ground ball to third. Gray comes up, throw over, is in time for out number 2, so Hawkeyes are down to their final out with Tristan Doster. Iowa looking for that 6-run, 2-out rally. And things will get started with Tristan Doster, who was 0 for 2 in Game 2 with a strikeout and a fly out to center field. She also has a sacrifice bunt. Here's a hard ground ball to Andrews at short. Sticks her glove out, fields it, then the throw across is in time for the 3rd and final out. So 6-3 put out for the final out of this game, and your final score, Nebraska Cornhuskers 9, the Iowa Hawkeyes 3, as Nebraska takes Game 2 of our Tuesday doubleheader. As the 2 teams split, Iowa takes Game 1, Nebraska takes Game 2. Your final score, Nebraska 9, the Iowa Hawkeyes 3. Hawkeyes took Game 1 by a final score of 4-2. As the Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers split, Iowa's first home series of the year. We'll take a quick 2-minute media timeout, and we'll come back with some post-game coverage, including a interview with Coach Gillespie about what happened during today's games. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
We're doing it again. That's right, it's time for a push, pull, or drag sale. Hi, it's Forrest Brown from the Browns family of dealerships. Push, pull, or drag is our most popular sales event, and I always get asked how it is so successful. I just explained we try to make things easy, straightforward, and fun. Now till the end of March, we'll give you a minimum of $1,500 for your old clunker on any used vehicle priced at $4,000 and up. All of our inventory is clearly marked with our everyday low prices. No gimmicks or hassles. You see it in black and white. Grab your title and your old clunker and get to any Browns location. We have a great selection of over 300 quality used vehicles in stock to choose from. We also have finance specialists on hand who can arrange financing for your budget. So stop by and talk to some of the friendliest people in the business, pick out your vehicle, and see how easy it can be. That's the Browns family of dealerships in Guttenberg, Elkader, West Branch, and Victory Ford in Dyersville. Check us out online at victorywithbrowns.com.
It may be hard to imagine green fields and warm sunshine right now, but we are smack dab in the middle of Tractorcade 2023 planting season. WMT's 24th annual Great Eastern Iowa Tractorcade will roll out of the Fayette County Fairgrounds in West Union this June 11th through 14th. Mark your calendars accordingly. Registration is open and the forms can be found under the events tab on the WMT website at 600WMT.com. New this year is a buddy bonus that includes a discount for new riders and those that refer them to Tractorcade. The beautiful rolling hills of Northeast Iowa will provide another scenic 3-day ride this summer. Small towns like Elkader, Fort Atkinson, Wadena, and St. Lucas will provide a beautiful backdrop for this year's ride. Follow along on the WMT Tractorcade Facebook page for more information, pictures, and stories. Tractorcade 2023 will be here before you know it, this June 11th through 14th. Hope to see you there.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
So we're back here at Pearl Field for our post-game coverage of Iowa softball against the Nebraska Cornhuskers on a Tuesday afternoon turning evening doubleheader in which Iowa and Nebraska split. Hawkeyes taking game one by a final score of 4-2. Nebraska took game two 9-3, and if we look at game two, this was a game that got out of hand quickly for the Hawkeyes. Nebraska took the early lead in the top of the first inning, but the Hawkeyes were able to tie things up in the bottom of the second. But then, after Nebraska scored 4 runs in the top of the fourth inning to take a 5-1 lead, things just got out of hand for Iowa. They were able to score 2 in the bottom half and cut the Nebraska lead in half and make it 5-3. But from that point onward, it was just all Nebraska. After the third inning, Nebraska goes on an 8-2 scoring run to win the game by a final score of 9-3, and another rough outing in the circle for freshman Jalen Adams, the Hawkeye pitcher. Adams finished going 3 innings, 3+, allowing 4 runs on 6 hits. Didn't get a strikeout and walked 2. So Jalen Adams continues to have struggled in the circle thus far. In her last appearance before today, she went 1/3 of an inning. 1/3 of an inning in the first, and gave up 1 run on 3 hits. So what started as a very promising season for the freshman from Fort Dodge has quickly become out of control for her. As today she only goes 3+ innings, allowing 4 runs on 6 hits, and Denali Lecker, who had been pitching very well as of late for the Hawkeyes, had the best ERA on the team and coming out of the bullpen. She gets the save during game 1, but then during game 2 today comes in relief and tries to limit the damage, but doesn't do it that much better than Adams. Goes 3 innings, allowing 2 Both of them earned on 4 hits, striking out 3 and walking 1. And she's got her 4th save of the season during Game 1, but struggled a little bit during Game 2. The Hawkeye offense was good at the plate, but they just were not able to string the hits together at the right times, left players on base multiple times throughout the games. There was a point when they were down by 2 with the bases loaded and 2 outs. Denali Lecker rips a ball down the left field line, but it was just happened to be right at the Nebraska left fielder and Squire. So they left the bases they stranded the bases loaded. And after that point onward, we're not able to muster across another run. The team still hit well as a whole, getting 9 as a squad, but the 3 runs is not ideal. So the Hawkeyes moved to 3-2 in conference play, and 1-1 at home. They have their next 3 games right at home as well. We'll talk about that just a little bit more later. If we look at the Hawkeyes individually as an offense, what stands out to me is Nia Carter out of the leadoff spot. A .495 hitter, goes 0 for 4 today in Game 2, 1 for 3 during Game 1. A 1 for 7 total between somebody who's pacing the conference in batting average and hits, and typically second in on-base percentage, goes 1 for 7. Some bright spots, at least offensively. Tori Bennett went 2 for 4. After Game 1, snapped her 8-game hitting streak. Denali Lecker seems to finally be putting things back together with the bat offensively, at least hitting-wise, as she goes 2 for 4 as well. And the Iowa Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers split the Tuesday doubleheader, and Coach Gillespie has made her way up to our press box. And Coach, how are you doing?
Good. That's a long walk up here.
I'm sure it is. Definitely a long one from the outfield. And so I want to talk about Game 1 first. That was a pretty good win. You know, third win in a row, and probably had to feel good to get Brianna Vasquez back on track, right?
Yeah. She did a fantastic job on the mound, and Denali coming in and being able to close that game for us was huge. She's got her confidence back, throwing really well right now, and having a little bit of offense behind her kind of helps her relax and play a good game. You
talked about Lecker, and that was what my next question was going to be. How does it feel to have somebody she got roughed up a little bit in Game 2, but what's it like having somebody as good as her coming out of the pen?
Yeah, I mean, she's been that kind of closer for us all season long, just being able to see something different, Breeze more up, in and out. Denali throws a lot of drops, change, off speed, so definitely a different look, and it's been working. The combination's been working great all season.
In that first game, it appeared Nebraska had gotten some of the momentum back. They had the 2 runs on the 2-run home run from one of the Andrews sisters, but then Klosterman hits that solo shot in the 6th inning to kind of retake momentum back. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, that was huge for us to be able to have her step up. She was struggling early on the season. She's really been coming at the plate, seeing some good pitches now, and we call it BK. BK did a nice job of coming in and just kind of locking down that game for us. You're that close. You're one game, 1 run difference, and for her to come in and kind of give us some breathing room.
Yeah, really seemed to steer the momentum back in the direction of the Hawkeyes, and then you were looking to have that continue into Game 2, but Jalen Adams seemed to struggle in the circle again. She's been struggling as of late. What gives you optimism that she's going to turn it around?
Yeah, I mean, she's a great pitcher. She's gone into some big games for us. UCLA, Texas, had some great outings in those games. She's very capable of being able to come in and lock in a game for us. Just wasn't her day to day. Just wasn't feeling it even at the beginning of the game. Needed to use her, so she did a great job of staying in there as long as she could.
And then on one final positive note, the Bats still swung it well. They got 9 hits. They just only pushed the 3 runs across.
Yeah, well, that's been the million-dollar question all season long. That one clutch hit, bases loaded. We've had bases loaded several times this season, just not getting that one clutch hit. And I think it's just getting the players to relax in that situation, not put too much pressure on themselves. It's still a hit through the infield, just working on relaxing and doing the little things right. They've gotten better with it. It's just, just keep moving forward and doing the little things that we can.
All right. Thank you, Coach Gillespie,
Thank
for our
you.
post-game coverage. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be right back to wrap things up. You're listening to Iowa Softball on the Hawkeye Radio Network.
We're doing it again. That's right, it's time for a push, pull, or drag sale. Hi, it's Forrest Brown from the Browns family of dealerships. Push, pull, or drag is our most popular sales event, and I always get asked how it is so successful. I just explained, we try to make things easy, straightforward, and fun. Now till the end of March, we'll give you a minimum of $1,500 for your old clunker on any used vehicle priced at $4,000 and up. All of our inventory is clearly marked with our everyday low prices. No gimmicks or hassles. You see it in black and white. Grab your title and your old clunker and get to any Browns location. We have a great selection of over 300 quality used vehicles in stock to choose from. We also have finance specialists on hand who can arrange financing for your budget. So stop by and talk to some of the friendliest people in the business, pick out your vehicle, and see how easy it can be. That's the Browns family of dealerships in Guttenberg, Elkader, West Branch, and Victory Ford in Dyersville. Check us out online at victorywithbrowns.com.
It may be hard to imagine green fields and warm sunshine right now, but we are smack dab in the middle of Tractorcade 2023 planting season. WMT's 24th annual Great Eastern Iowa Tractorcade will roll out of the Fayette County Fairgrounds in West Union this June 11th through 14th. Mark your calendars accordingly. Registration is open and the forms can be found under the events tab on the WMT website at 600WMT.com. New this year is a buddy bonus that includes a discount for new riders and those that refer them to Tractorcade. The beautiful rolling hills of Northeast Iowa will provide another scenic 3-day ride this summer. Small towns like Elkader, Fort Atkinson, Wadena, and St. Lucas will provide a beautiful backdrop for this year's ride. Follow along on the WMT Tractorcade Facebook page for more information, pictures, and stories. Tractorcade 2023 will be here before you know it, this June 11th through 14th. Hope to see you there.
We'll now wrap up this broadcast on 800 KXIC with the play-by-play voice of the Iowa Hawkeye softball team, Jerry Koala.
So your final score from Game 2 and your post-game coverage here from Pearl Field in the Coralville, Iowa City area. Game 2 final score 9-3 in favor of Nebraska. They get the split after the Hawkeyes take Game 1 4-2. The Hawkeyes will return their next 3 games all at home. A Friday, Saturday, Sunday matchup. A 3-3 trifecta with the Northwestern Wildcats. Game 1 will be Friday night at 5 p.m. Then they will replay on Saturday. First pitch is scheduled to be at 2, and then turn around on Sunday for a game at noon, and that's what they're calling the Gold Out on Herky Day. So Sunday, April 2nd. But their first game back will be this upcoming Friday, a 5 o'clock game with the Northwestern Wildcats. Thank you for listening to this broadcast of Iowa softball. Again, final score, Nebraska 9, Iowa 3 in Game 2 of our Tuesday doubleheader. I'm Lucas Strain. You've been listening to Iowa softball, and we now invite you back to your regularly scheduled programming with Fox Sports. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to the Learfield broadcast of the University of Iowa Hawkeye softball team on 800 KXIC. This broadcast was brought to you by Bounce Back at Windmill Manor, the City of Coralville, Graduate Hotel, Hawkeye Title and Settlement, Iowa City Tire and Service, Iowa Corn, and Premier Automotive.
We now join Fox Sports Radio, already in progress on 800 KXIC and available on your Amazon smart speakers just by saying, Alexa, play 800 KXIC on iHeartRadio.
All your VA benefits. We're already fighting for hundreds of Marines, families, and civilians who drank Camp Lejeune water. But if you miss the deadline, you could forever lose your right to the justice you deserve. So call our Camp Lejeune legal helpline now. Now may be your last chance to receive full compensation. Don't delay. Call 800-310-9696. That's 800-310-9696. 800-310-9696.
And now, here's a little something that you missed from the Ben Maller Show.
This thing is going to drag on and on.
Here we go.
This Final Four in my entire life gets an F. This is an F Final Four. This is a failure of the Final Four. Well, this is your fantasy land, is what it is. File this one under things sports fans think they want but really don't. The Final Four. From a marketing standpoint, this is college basketball Armageddon. Holy crap on a cracker, Batman. What have we done? Now, I realize that long ago everyone's bracket was busted. That's not the point. The legacy teams are nowhere to be found. You have schools that are not even regional powers. From the Midwest, the number 5 seed Miami, which, if you're old, was a football school, but they haven't been good at football. It's a dormant football school, certainly not a basketball school, with the grizzled, longtime college basketball coach Jim Larinaga being celebrated. And I have nothing against Jim Larinaga. And in the South, San Diego State, the number 5 seed in the South, where the turf meets the surf. That's not a football school or a basketball school. It's just a school. It's a party school is what it is. It's a party place. And then you have out of the East, the number 9 seed, Florida Atlantic, a school that started their basketball program as a D2 in 1988, have been in Division I, what is known as Division I, since 1994. And then in the West, the closest thing to a legacy program, Connecticut, UConn, rounds out the Final Four. But I think it's an F.
To get the rest of what Big Ben said, podcast it by searching The Ben Maller Show. And as always, you can hear The Ben Maller Show weekdays from 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific, right here on Fox Sports Radio. This is The Odd Couple with Chris Broussard and Rob Parker.
I don't have an issue at all with Lamar. Sometimes you got to fight for what you believe in and what you want. And, Chris, we both said we wish it was before last season. Do you remember we talked about holding out and making them come to the table at that time and making them make a deal? And he went and played, and we thought that was the wrong idea. You can say whatever you want about Ezekiel Elliott and the Dallas Cowboys, and that was done by Jerry Jones. But he got what he wanted. It's smart negotiation, Chris.
It was smart by him.
It was.
Because running backs, of all the positions, they got the shortest shelf life.
Right. You got to get paid. And my point is, and you just said it, Chris, running back. And we know Lamar's not just a running back, but he runs the football.
This is The Odd Couple with Chris Broussard and Rob Parker. Weekdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio. This is Two Pros and a Cup of Joe.
We're getting back into it. What the hell's going on, man? Because now, like, the latest thing with Jeremy Fowler of ESPN was saying that the Ravens are telling free agents, like, yeah, we'd like to have Lamar back, but we can't fully commit to it. And, we're just not quite. What do you think? Like, the guy's got, some guy with mobile gym equipment doing his negotiations and then reaching out. And every time Lamar wants to deny any of this stuff, he just goes to Twitter with some face emoji.
It's fractured my relationship to the scenario, the situation, all of it. Like,
Are you tired of it?